It's Friday. Hooray!
Yeah. Ran a couple minutes late because I forgot it was Friday.
I told you half an hour before the show started. This is why I always tell him like ahead of time, because otherwise he acts like, oh shit, I only have like 5 minutes. So I told him like half an hour before, and he's like, I still got half an hour.
Yeah,
and
well, the thing is, I thought it was a Thursday. I forgot it was Friday.
We don't even stream on Thursday, so I don't even know what the hell you thought. Yesterday was Thursday.
I thought it was a Thursday. And I thought it was like just a little short show, not a long show.
So you thought maybe it was like Tuesday or Sunday?
You know what I mean? I didn't want to wear shorts and shit on for a long show. I could do that shit for about an hour or so. I don't want to wear that shit all night. Not on a Friday. Not on a big show.
Not on a big show.
Yeah, what you doing, Pook? What you got?
She's very, very mad because...
Looking at the mice.
I won't brush her.
Yeah, toy mice.
Like I said, she's gotten to the point now where I can't even walk over in that direction. She's like, brush, brush, and she like runs over there and jumps onto the sink.
And looks at the brush.
And then, yeah, and I went over there and I was like petting her. I'm like, I don't have time right now. And she looked at me with these big, huge eyes like that, like, no way. Like her eyes are like all big and I felt like so bad. So she's bad. She's like going around like tearing shit up.
Yeah.
All right. Camp Guy says, cat chat and cocktails. Oh, cool art. Wonder if Jenny did it. No, I didn't. I found it on Pixabay, actually. I really liked it as well. I always kind of look for... Because I never know what we're going to talk about on these shows, really.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to, like, find a picture that encapsulates. So I said, well, we usually drink on there. That's a constant. So I usually try to find something funny to do with, like, drinking. And, you know, and we usually talk about Pookie and stuff, too. So I try to find stuff with, like, cats and booze. But there's not really a lot of artwork with those two things in it. You know. That's right. Tax season is over today. Today was tax day. So, yeah, I did my taxes a little while back. And luckily I didn't have to pay anything because I didn't make enough.
Didn't make enough to worry about it, huh?
No.
That's because pandemic's been hitting you.
Yeah.
Wasn't like that before that shit.
Well, last year I ended up having to pay $500 something. But yeah, this year I didn't pay. I didn't make that much less this year, but it's just...
It was enough to where you didn't have to worry.
It was enough that I didn't have to, which was nice because I was afraid because I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
What if I have to pay $500? It's like I'm gonna be in big trouble. But yeah.
Zach sent us some money.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zach. Zach says, I see Tom's shirt and keep remembering what a pain it is for me to get shirts because I'm both fat at the moment and have a linebacker's shoulders. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, speaking of money, I wanted to give a shout out to Miguel, who is my friend on Facebook, and he sent me a PayPal donation today. So that was very nice.
Who?
He's Miguel.
Okay, thanks.
So he's done that a few times in the past. So I wanted to give him a shout out if he's listening, which hopefully he is. So you want to hear something funny? Like like 15 minutes before the show started, and I'm here at my laptop, and it had to do some like updates or whatever. So I was like restarting it, and I looked down underneath the desk, and I saw something on the floor. It's kind of dark under there. I saw something on the floor, and I was like, holy shit, I think that looks like a big, huge, dried up turd. And I was like, did Pookie poop in here? It's like she's never done that. No. She's never pooped outside.
Must have been a hairball.
Okay, you just let me finish the story. Right. So I'm sitting there like looking at it, and I'm like, I really don't want to touch it because what if it is a turd? Or it's like, because I couldn't tell what it was, and I'm like, is it food that I dropped? It's like that, you know, it's big. And so finally, I realized what it was. This is what it was. It was these severed heads. Oh. Except it was upside down. Yeah. So all I saw it was like that, so it looked like a turd.
It's from this.
This is my Headless Horseman figure. And he has these little severed heads that he holds in his hand. He has his Christopher Walken head too, but I don't know where it is.
Yeah, from the back, that does like a couple little fucking dings.
Yeah, so it was laying right down there, like underneath the leg of the desk, and I was like, oh man, that looks like a big giant turd. It honestly looked too big to be a cat turd. It looked like a human turd, and I was like, well, I don't know how that would have gotten there, but you know, unless I got really drunk one night.
Hornets asked me what something is like. I got my hands on some designer HRT blends called Sust 350, and it's kind of the rage right now. Sustained, Sust, that's what they're talking about.
Oh,
Sust
I thought you said sus as in suspicious.
Nah. Sust, Sustained 350 is the one that I got, and it's good. I injected a full dose of that shit today. Which was the day was the
So who knows what you're gonna be like
this evening. I wanted to see how hard it hit. Well, it's already did. First of all, you after a few minutes, you become kind of short, a little bit fucking short tempered, a little bit like I don't want to hear this shit. I would stop it. You know, you're like that.
So like me all the time.
Yeah. I don't want to hear that shit. Get out of my way. You're like
again,
that for
like
a while.
me all the time.
Then you start getting hot and you start sweating out some of that grease, just like you went on when you first started HRT. It's like that. And then it just kind of runs like that. It kind of feels a little bit like Deanna Ball. Yeah. I don't know if it feels like Deanna
It doesn't
Ball.
sound like any fun though.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's not a recreational thing. You know what I mean? It's a hormone replacement therapy thing.
Well, I know that, but it's like it still sounds like here I'm going to take this thing that makes me feel like crap or.
No, well, you don't feel like crap. You get a little bit aggressive at first, but then it kind of mellows out.
Well, and feeling hot all the time, that's feeling like crap.
It's not all the time.
Because I hate feeling hot.
It's not all the time. Kind of comes and goes. If like the first day you're a little bit hot, and then it kind of trails off. But I haven't lifted on it yet. See, that's the acid test. If you can lift a lot of weights on it and have a good workout on it, then you're like, oh, okay, yeah. And then you wake up the next day and you're fucking all healed up. You're like, yeah, that's good.
What?
Yeah,
It's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
Joints feel real wet. I don't feel any kind of bloating around the waist or anything. I don't feel like I'm filled with fucking. I haven't had any kind of bloating reaction to it yet. Let's see that. If I feel bloated tomorrow, I don't know what it is. Normally, I wouldn't have taken a full dose. I wouldn't have taken the full 350. I would have broken it up into maybe 2 or 3 injections over the week, so there's no minimize the disturbance. But he wanted to know what's it like. I says okay, so I just fucking dove right into it. Just like that's what a doctor would tell you, once a week. It's a lot better to do it like once every to do it like every 2.5, 3 days, smaller amounts. Just what I mean. So there's no disturbances. That's actually a better way of doing it. But doctors they just say, oh, once a week.
Well, they don't want to get sued in case something bad happens, so they're erring on the side of caution.
Actually, it's more cautious to take that 350 milligrams of it and break it up in 3 doses over the week. You know what I mean? Instead of just one big one and then dealing with it, break it into 3 pieces and do it slowly over the week, and it's a lot easier on you. But guys on HRT want to know what it feels like. Like a full wallop of it, because a lot of it shit at once. To be honest, it feels good. It feels real good. But that's not what it's for. But everybody wants to know. He wanted to know.
Like I said, I hate feeling hot all the time. That was one of the worst things. And honestly, I was actually really lucky, like when I went through menopause, because I didn't really have that many symptoms, but I did have the occasional hot flash, and they suck.
Yeah, you don't feel hot all the time.
I mean, I hate being hot at any time. Okay. I would rather be cold always. Yeah. I would rather be a little bit too cold than a little bit too. I hate being hot. I hate being sweaty. I hate it. Yeah. So I hate like any kind of like humidity. It makes me really, really uncomfortable.
Yeah. I feel kind of sticky and oily right now.
Yeah. See, I love that. See, that would drive me fucking up the wall.
I love it.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm just like, and we live in Florida too, where it's like super humid. It's like every morning I get out of the shower and like cover myself with baby powder. I can't fucking stand it. I can't stand being damp. I hate it, and I hate being hot. It keeps me awake at night, and it's like it's not really that hot in this house. In fact, this office, for whatever reason, I don't really know if it's just because I keep it dark in here because I don't like sunlight, but this office is so cold usually that I need a jacket most of the time, which is fine with me. But the bedroom is sometimes comfortable, and sometimes it's too hot. It's like too stuffy. There's no ceiling fan in there, which is, that's one thing. But, so a lot of times, like, I'll wake up, and it's like I can't ever sleep with, like, covers on because it's too warm in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Hornet, I've said there's no bloating yet. Typically, it would be the day after the injections when you kind of feel it. Then it'll last about a day and then it goes away. When you take a big wallop like that. But like I said, if you break it up into 3 over the week, it would be a lot milder. The body doesn't react to it as strongly. You know, the endocrine system doesn't like disturbances, so it's easier to just kind of like break it up. Some guys will do tiny injections every day, or you can inject it into fat, which will go in real slowly. Somebody's asking me, Tom, what do you think about what now? It said, what was it? It said, Tom, what are your thoughts on PWS? I don't know what that is. I don't know what PWS is. You have to clarify.
Zach says, oh good, I thought Jenny was going to say it was a giant wolf spider or something, meaning the thing that I saw under the desk. Yeah, it's okay, it was just like a plastic thing. Well, it's like, as soon as I looked at it, because for sure I was sitting there going, that's got to be a turd, it looks exactly like a turd. And I thought one of the cats had pooped, and then I was just kind of like, oh wait, oh, and then I figured out what it was. I don't know why that just reminded me of something, but here's something that happened when I was a kid. My mom, and she told me this story because I was sleeping at the time. My mom gets up in the middle of the night to go and get like a drink out of the refrigerator or something like that. And she just about shit a brick because she saw a glowing thing standing in our living room, like by the sliding glass door. And she was like freaking out, like, oh my God, it's a fucking ghost is like standing in the house, right? And then she figured out, like, she's like wigging out, and then she figured out, you know what it was? It was a glow-in-the-dark Frisbee that we had left on the fucking floor. And I guess, like, the sunlight from the day had come in and, like, kind of soaked in, and she had not noticed that it was there. So then she got up in the middle of the night, and it was, like, glowing like that. And she thought it was a fucking ghost in the house. And I don't know why.
Was it like shining up on something else, or?
Yeah, it was. Well, it was like really bright. She said it was really bright, like green. Okay. You know what I mean, like that. Because
you couldn't see a disc on the ground.
No, because it was the light was so bright.
Oh, okay.
Because the moon was coming right in, like hitting it, and it was just like this big green glow. And she, you know, she wasn't expecting to see that, so she just like comes around the corner, and she's like, "Holy fucking shit! There's like a ghost standing there." And then she was like, "Oh, it's a fucking glow-in-the-dark Frisbee." I don't know why I remember that. That happened like so many years ago, but I just remember her telling me that and me laughing and laughing. Because she's like, I felt like such an idiot. Because I thought the fucking house was haunted. But yeah, I don't know why I thought of that. Why? I guess because I thought that was a turd, and then it just turned out to be like a toy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Camp Guy said, I just took some turmeric. I wonder if it really handles muscular soreness like I've heard.
No.
Yeah, like a lot of people say about the lick. I'm not against like eating turmeric. It's not going to hurt you. No. And it's good. It's delicious.
Yeah, it's just spice.
But, you know, I don't know how much, you know, health thing it has.
Turmeric is a very common spice in India. They use it to make things yellow, basically. It has some flavor, but it's a very mild flavor. They don't sell a lot of it in the United States, and Western cooking doesn't use a lot of turmeric. So merchants have that shit around all the time, and they have to come up with creative ways to sell turmeric. All right.
Yeah, because not enough people cook Indian food at home.
So what they did is they said, well, you know, cures cancer or it prevents cancer. And
well, see, that's
like, well, how do you know that? And we said, well, India doesn't have that much cancer per capita, so it must be the turmeric. I mean,
well, see, the thing about it, the thing about health supplements, particularly any kind of supplements that are based on like spice or stuff that's, like I said, it's not going to hurt you necessarily unless you like fucking eat gallons of the shit, which you shouldn't do that with anything. Yeah. But because it's not a drug, it doesn't necessarily have to go through the FDA. So you can get away with saying some things about it, but you have to word it in a real particular way. Because look, I'm not naming any names, but I've done some packaging for different kinds of things like that, and they're very, very careful about the wording that they use. Because
it's not her product, it's company she's worked for.
Right. So it's like if you, you know, if you say a particular thing like it can do this and that, then you can get sued because it doesn't do that. But if you just say, you can use words like it promotes this or something like that. Yeah, you can like say like implication where it sounds like it does something cool, but you can't like come out and say, yeah, it absolutely does this, because it doesn't, and you'll get sued.
Yeah.
But like I said, the shit's not going to hurt you, usually. It's just that I think people have an overinflated sense of how much help it will be.
Yeah.
That's all. But they know that, so that's why they use like all of those kind of like weasel words.
Yeah. But no, so sorry to burst your bubble. No, turmeric is a delicious spice. Very good.
Cook some Indian food with it.
Yeah, in Indian food. Curry, real good. Fucking sag paneer. Fucking mutter paneer. All kinds of shit.
God, I love sag paneer.
Yeah. All kinds of shit you could use with.
I love anything with paneer.
Yeah.
I don't know why. There's just something real. There's something just. It's very, very mild, the cheese, but I like just the whole like gestalt of like the flavor and the texture of it. It's almost like tofu. Yeah. So it's not as soft as tofu. It's a little bit firmer. Yeah. But
turmeric is good in soups. Jenny, one of those companies that she worked for, Healing Butterfly. That's the name of it. They had a turmeric type matcha, wasn't it?
It didn't have. It wasn't matcha, but it was like a turmeric like tea or like a drink.
Tea.
And it was delicious.
Yeah, it was salty.
Oh, it was so good.
It tasted like an Indian.
It almost tasted like an Indian soup.
Yeah.
Man, that shit was good.
They called it tea to get away with it, so it would sell.
Well, I don't even know if they called it tea, but it was a tea so you drank it like tea.
We got a lot of it here still.
Yeah, that shit was delicious.
The packaging was solid. It was like MRE packaging. It would keep forever. So I'm like, man, that's some good survival shit there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good, but I could make that. I have lots of turmeric. So really what made it special to me was the packaging. It had real convenient, pretty packaging. Strong.
Pretty because I'm
flat metallic packet. Flat metallic packet.
I mean, I made the label.
Thick.
I didn't make that actually.
Right, yeah.
It was just like in the gold like MRE bag, but I did the label that was on it.
There were these flat metallic bags, kind of like an MRE bag.
Thank you, Zach. Tea or coffee, and why? Either, but I prefer coffee. Teas are good, but I don't usually. I mean, we have some of it around the house, but we don't, every now and then, like we'll be like, oh man, let's make some chai. But usually it's coffee. You know what? It's like we have the coffee pot downstairs that makes 8 cups or 12 cups or whatever, and I have a coffee pot right over there that makes 1 cup at a time.
Yeah.
And so I have like all different kind of coffee under there, all different kind of creamers. I got Snickers creamer, we got caramel creamer, and I also have hot chocolate under there too. So every now and then I make some hot chocolate too.
Talking about those Indian spices, the best place to get those are places like House of Spices or some kind of like an Indian or Pakistani,
like an Asian market.
Asian type.
It's way
markets.
cheaper.
Much better. You can get a fucking huge packet of turmeric. There for probably about $5 or $6. It would probably cost you $30 to buy that.
Yeah, because if you buy them at the grocery store, the spices, particularly ones that people don't use a lot, are super expensive. Like they'll charge you like $6, $7 for one that size. Whereas if you go to the Asian market, you can get like a big bag of the shit.
Huge bag
for like $6, $7.
And not just turmeric, all of their spices, all of them. Cumin seeds.
Coriander seeds.
Yeah.
Cardamom pods.
There's a spice,
cardamom powder.
Yeah, there's a spice mix called garam masala, which is the basis for other dishes that they use, like a basis for spicy gravies. And so each garam masala is slightly different. You can make your own garam masala, but a lot of people would just buy a packet of pre-mixed garam masala. And you can tweak that just slightly and make a curry on that. Or just run garam masala if you like that flavor, whatever spice mix they give you. But, you just get in huge fucking 3-pound fucking or 5-pound bags of it for like $7.
Yeah, it's a really, really good deal. Like way cheaper.
Yeah. You'll be sick of that shit before you use it.
Yeah, we buy like the shit. Oracle asks about caraway. Do they have caraway seeds there?
They don't use caraway.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think. Yeah, I think caraway is more like a Western. I mean, honestly, the only thing that you see caraway seeds used in to any great extent is kind of like sausages or meatballs or that kind of stuff. And they might have it there, but we don't use a lot of caraway seeds. We put them in meatballs, but that's about it.
See, I save jars and the lids. I'll fucking wash them and repurpose them. Even like, glass maple syrup jugs. I'll even save those. and I'll debadge them, clean them. Because when you buy those bags of spices and shit like fucking mustard seeds, when you buy them at the Asian markets, you can't keep it in that plastic bag. It'll be everywhere. You know what I mean? It's like a one-use open bag, and it's like 5 pounds of that shit. So you got to pour it in these jars, and then you have Jenny make me a label, and she'll make me damn jars. So I got all these glass jars with lids with spices in them. You know,
we have
one of them
spices, you guys.
is a jar about that tall and that big around, looks like a barrel, and it just says mustard seeds, and it's just filled with fucking black mustard seeds. You never know when you need them. They keep forever. You know, but they're crucial to some Indian and Pakistani type dishes.
I mean, any spice you need, I'm pretty sure we've got.
We got it in here somewhere.
And I'm sure we've got like a lot of it.
Yeah. I got fucking big old bay leaves, Indian bay leaves. They're like that big. Fucking big old cinnamon sticks. You can ground cinnamon, flat crushed cinnamon from India, and everything can be ground down into a powder, you know. Or sometimes they're just fried in butter to release the flavor from the big pieces, and then you throw the pieces away, and now the butter's flavored, and you use that, you know. You fry up fucking basically wet but raw basmati rice in it real quick, toast the outside of the rice, and then pour the water in it and cover it. When that rice comes out, it'll be brown and aromatic and beautiful with some bay leaves sitting on top of it. Throw the bay leaf away. It's just this beautiful rice. Make you fat. Make you fat. It's a constant battle.
It is.
Constant battle.
All the time, like, the delicious food is always the most fattening. Why is that? Not always, but usually. Camp Guy says, I love my Indian grocery store. Amazing that many of the veggies are way cheaper than the grocery store. Yeah, you can get, it's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the one we go to I guess it's in Lake Mary, right?
Yeah.
Lake Mary, House of Spices.
We need to go back there, as a matter of fact. There's stuff we need to get from there.
It's like, it's small, but they have, you know, several aisles of stuff, and they have like a small produce section or refrigerated section, and they do have a pretty good produce selection, gotta say.
There's a bunch of stuff in there that fucking Americans don't know about. They usually in those Indian markets, they have a Thai section, and you have the Thai curry paste section, which are like these tuna cans. And they'll be green, red, brown, yellow, and there's all these different...
There's like a hot pink one, there's a yellow one, there's a green one, and there's a red one.
They'll sell the same thing in a Western grocery store, but they'll sell it for 4 times the price, and they'll have it in a little glass jar, and it'll be like green curry paste. That's what they'll call it. Or red curry paste, and you get a little jar, and they'll charge you $8 for that shit. Fuck no, man. That's not what the Thai what they have in Thailand or Indonesia. It's at a big, large.
It's like a small tuna
can. No,
or like a
large,
cat food can.
It's big. Yeah, it's bigger than that though. It's the size of a tuna can, and that's only $3. You use the whole thing for the dish.
I thought it was cheaper than that.
No,
actually.
$3 or $4. $3.
The yellow one's my favorite. That's the Manaman curry, I guess.
Masaman.
Whatever, that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, and then there's what was that? Pyongyang? The purple one.
Wait, is it purple or it's hot pink? There's one that's hot pink.
Hot pink, same thing.
Yeah.
And I forgot what that one's called. That's a good one too. And then
the yellow is my favorite.
Red one, the green one.
The green one is too hot for me.
What you do with those is you throw those in a pan of with a little bit of hot. Okay, you open up a can of coconut milk, and you get some of that coconut paste off the top of that can. You put it in there like butter. You let that melt, and then you throw that whole open that can up of spice paste, and you put it in there, and you fry it in that coconut milk, and get it kind of toasted. When it smells real aromatic, you then throw chicken in there or bamboo shoots, and then the rest of the and let that brown, and then you throw the rest of the coconut milk in there, and it might be 2 cans of coconut milk depending on how much of it you're making, and depending on what flavor you're dealing with, you're going to be adding other things after that. But a lot of times it's just that with bamboo shoots in it, and you pour that over rice. Oh, it's fucking beautiful. But sometimes it's other stuff like your Might add some peanut butter to it, or you might add
See, that's my
lemon
favorite.
juice to it on certain, depending on what flavor it is.
One time you made, well, once or twice,
Whole
you
things
made something like a curry or a noodle dish that had the yellow, the massaman curry stuff, and peanut butter.
Yeah.
And it
like
was
a satay.
over like kind of like the glass noodles.
Yeah, it was kind of like a satay.
Holy
type thing.
shit, that was delicious.
It was good. I thought it was a little too pasty though, too heavy. But you
No,
liked it.
I liked it.
I thought it was real heavy.
I thought it was fantastic.
I think it was better on rice.
See, I'm. You know what? If I have a choice between rice and noodles, I'm always gonna pick noodles. I like noodles better than rice. I like rice too, like in some applications. But
That shit was that was thousands and thousands of calories.
oh, I'm sure it
Tens of
was,
thousands.
which is why it was delicious,
Right, yeah.
probably. But yeah, you'd have to. And the thing about it is that it's so good that it's like I probably could have just sat there and eat like 3 or 4 bowls of it, and I was like, I know I can't do that because that'd be like all my calories for the week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was so delicious.
Yeah, that yellow curry and all those dry curry powders are all blends. They're all mixes. There isn't a spice called curry. It's a mixture. Mostly turmeric.
Well, that's garam masala's like that too. It's just
Yeah,
that
it's also
everybody.
that, yeah.
It's that everybody has their own.
Like a family version.
Yeah, so it's like the same spices. It's turmeric, and whatever, but they have it in different like ratios.
Cumin. It's probably things like cumin,
Chili powder,
chili powder, maybe a little bit of chili powder,
cardamom.
Maybe something. I don't know. You can look it up. Garam masala mixes.
It's just like I said, it's just in different ratios, like depending. But yeah,
they got, and it's easy to cook once you start thinking the way they think and how they do it. All that shit is pretty easy.
well, yeah, I kind of feel like one thing that when you first started doing Indian food is that once you get down like a few techniques, you can make pretty much anything.
Yeah, and you find out less is more.
Yeah.
What they're giving you in the restaurant is the easy way. You go that way. If you try to do some of these fancy recipes, they won't taste like what you're used to. You're like, yeah, it's good, but that's not what they gave me at the restaurant. Well, they gave you the easiest one most of the time, and that's because it's the most cost-effective one, and they're actually it tastes good. It tastes better to me. Simplicity a lot of times speaks volumes, really.
Yeah, you don't want to like
no,
complicate the shit.
Right.
You want kind of like the spices and the ingredients that you use you want to be able to taste that and like kind of all be harmonious together rather than trying to like throw more shit in it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To make it like fancier. But yeah, I mean, your butter chicken is like famous.
Everybody loves it.
Every time we've made it, because people have come over to our house and we've made that, and it's like, I kind of feel like between your butter chicken and your pizza, that's what everybody, if they're coming to our house, make that.
Everybody wants to do that butter chicken. Yeah.
That butter chicken.
There's a couple different butter chickens that I do. Sometimes I'll just use my own spice mix. That's pretty good. A lot of people like that. But actually, the one that they comment mostly about was Shan.
That Shan mix is pretty legit.
Which is like, it's not even Indian, it's Pakistani.
Yeah.
And it's like cheap Pakistani.
Yeah.
But I'll use that spice mix, and I do it my way, and yeah, that bitch is good. It does not taste like something from a high fucking caliber Indian restaurant or high caliber Indian hotel in fucking New Delhi. No, it's not like that. I've seen their recipes. Their recipes are kind of more mildy and tomatoey. It's not like that. This has a little bit of a zing to it, and it's just the Pakistani version of it. It's good. If you guys want to try it, there's a company called Shan, S-H-A-N, and just get that a box of butter chicken spice mix. And you won't use it all. You'll probably use about a quarter of that box for one big thing.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, well, we've tried all different brands because if you go to the Indian market,
they're all
there's a bunch of like, pre-mixed like spice mixes like in little boxes, and they have like 3 or 4 different brands of them.
Yeah.
For all the different dishes.
Yeah, the high caliber one was international, I think. Wasn't that
it's national is the one that's called.
That was the high class.
But I didn't like that one as much.
It was a little
it's still
too
good,
mild.
but
it was a little too mild.
Shan had a good.
Shan is ghetto, and it's effective.
We had one. Damn, I don't know why it's like my throat's tickling. We had one, I can't remember. It wasn't National, but it was some other brand. Because we tried different brands of like the spice to see which one was the best. We had one brand of butter chicken that was way too hot.
Yeah.
For me, because I can't eat real hot stuff. I get I don't either, because I'll get like horrible heartburn and it fucks my stomach up. So I can't eat real spicy stuff. But Shan seems like a really good balance.
Yeah.
It's just spicy. It's a little bit spicy, but it's not so spicy that I'm just kind of like, oh my god, I'm gonna be like suffering.
And it's got some crappy, dingy looking packaging. The way the boxes. It looks like it teleported itself from 1975 to here. It's just kind of dingy colors and terrible photography on it. It's just, and inside that little box is a metallic bag of just spice mix.
Yeah.
And it's only like $1.50 for that fucking thing.
Yeah, they're super cheap.
Super cheap. And I pretty much follow the instructions, but not really. I still add the stick of butter to that. They don't even talk about they don't even mention putting butter in fucking butter chicken.
It's butter chicken.
On the back of that fucking thing.
You got to put at least one stick of butter in there.
Yeah, one stick of butter.
That's why they call it that.
Yeah, on the back of that box, it never really mentions that.
That's what makes it good.
A stick of butter and a bunch of cream.
Yeah.
And it takes forever on the back of that box trying to explain to you how to make tomato paste.
Because they're assuming that you don't have it in a can.
Yeah.
You have to make your own tomato paste. So that's like what the whole first half of the recipe is.
So I was just using tomato paste. All right. That was pretty good. And then I would also use fucking pureed tomatoes, like out of the can and pureed them. That was pretty good too. But you know what's fucking better? Ketchup.
Because it's got sugar in it.
It's got sugar in it. And it's already pureed. Fucking squirt about a fucking half a cup of ketchup or a cup of ketchup in that bitch. It's even better.
No shame.
And what, you know what gave me that idea? Watching Indians cook on fucking YouTube.
Yeah, they're like, fuck it.
The restaurant guy, imagine he grabbed a fucking thing of Hunt's ketchup and
like,
and he called it puree. Puree?
Well, technically.
Yeah.
It's puree, but there's other stuff in it, that's all.
So I went, yeah, puree.
Let's not be classist about it. It's ketchup. It's fine. So it's an ingredient.
So I did that same shit and gave it to her, and I was like, oh, that's what they gave us at the restaurant. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they were doing.
As long as it's good, I don't give a shit what they put in.
Yeah,
well,
fucking ketchup.
Within reason, you know. But
chicken with spices, ketchup, a whole stick of butter, and some cream, and it comes out like a spicy tomato soup. But it's kind of thick, with chicken in it, chicken breast.
Yeah, it's kind of like orange.
Pour it over rice. Yeah, and it's kind of a thick, tomatoey, sweet.
Or dip naan in it, which is my preferred.
Yeah, and your naan bread, fucking great. And it has the Shan version has a slight amount of like lemon zest kind of flavor to it.
Yeah,
that's what's making the difference. They probably put MSG in it to get that zest, but it's good though. It's good.
That's okay.
There's something about it. It's kind of slightly lemony, slightly zesty. And butter chicken doesn't have lemon in it. In the original recipe, it's just
no. But you know,
an Indian would go, well, you know, a snotty Indian would go like, that's not butter chicken, but that's good. You know.
Yeah, it's still good as long as it's good.
It's Pakistani butter chicken.
And like I said, you can't get too wrapped up in, oh, that's not this. It's like if it still tastes good. You can do variations on stuff. It's okay.
Like chili.
It's okay.
There isn't one chili. There's a lot of different chilies. Every time you have chili, it's a little bit different depending on who made it.
That's right. That's right. And every single person that makes it is different.
But technically, American Texas-style chili doesn't have beans in it.
Yeah.
If it's got beans in it, you're fucking faking the fuck. It's all meat. And chili is another variation of curry. It's
essentially the same thing. It has a lot of the same spices in it, just in different ratios.
Same cooking technique.
And the same cooking technique also.
Yeah, it's
not that different.
Same spices, but in different ratios, and it's all meat. Most of the time, pork. Indians wouldn't eat pork. Neither would Pakistanis or Muslim. But we're talking Texas. They eat the swine. But if it was fucking beef, they'll do that too. I think Texas chili probably is beef. But
I would think most versions I've seen of Texas
beef.
Chili was mostly beef. Yeah. Although it might have had beef and pork in it too. I've seen versions like that too.
I think by rights it's beef. But nowadays the amounts of meat you're talking about would be very expensive for that to be beef. So pork is a good substitute. It's a lot cheaper.
I mean, pork's good too.
Yeah.
You know.
Just got to get the right cuts. Tenderloin.
Midwest Outlaw wants to know, can you handle your spice though, Tom? Oh my God, he loves hot stuff.
Oh yeah.
He loves it. His favorite thing, when we lived at the old house, he used to specifically ride his motorcycle all the way over here to where our new house is, to the Mexican grocery store / restaurant, just to get that little bottle of that Mayan
Yucateco.
Yeah,
Yucateco.
That super, super hot, like brown hot sauce.
Yeah.
He loves that shit.
Cubiticuli or...
Somebody sent us like a huge
whole case.
Yeah, somebody sent us a whole case of it.
Case. Yeah, and I still have it. I still have half of that case. I didn't blow through it.
Well, you blew through half, which is pretty impressive because that wasn't that long ago.
2 years ago.
He puts hot sauce on everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. No, not on everything.
Well, almost everything. I mean, you don't put it on like pancakes or shit like that, but it's like
when there's an opportunity for fucking hot sauce, there's gonna be hot sauce on it.
I mean, if you make tacos or you make an omelet or you make something like that, you put hot sauce on it.
Barbecue pork sandwich, I put hot sauce on it. Hot sauce,
I can't do that. My digestive system can't take it.
It used to give me a problem until I went on HRT. HRT, there's something about it. It wakes up your entire endocrine system, and I digest so much better. I don't know. Bee's nest, you notice that? You notice that bee's nest? Heartburn goes away when you go on HRT. I thought it was the HCG, which is a pituitary gland stimulant I was taking. It's not. It's testosterone. Test will fucking hook you up. You digest anything.
Hasn't helped me, though. Because I still can't...
You get very little, though. Very little.
It didn't even help me when you're giving me more.
Yeah, I know. It just... Well,
because honestly, like, even tomato sauce gives me heartburn, which really makes me sad because I fucking love tomatoes and I love tomato sauce. And it's like, and I'll still eat it, but... I know that if I eat something with tomato sauce on it, I'm like, well, I'm going to be like having heartburn the rest of the day. That's just, you have to live with it.
A female dose of any kind of HRT or anything, even if it's anabolic steroids, it's 10% of what a man takes. So a woman by rights should be able to live on, if she's postmenopausal. We're talking about premenopausal, okay? Because before menopause, a woman her endocrine system is running. She shouldn't need it. After menopause, a woman's metabolism slows way down. A doctor will tell you about 20 milligrams a week of injected testosterone is equivalent to like a man injecting 200, which is, you can live on that without any major side effects. Little things you can negotiate, not a big deal. The main side effect on a man is that without Clomid or HCG, you will sterilize yourself temporarily. In other words, it acts like women's birth control. You'll shoot blanks because your nuts are like, well, I got tests. I don't need to make any. So
lazy ass nuts.
So they just go to sleep. Your nuts will get small. Most of those bodybuilders got little bitty nuts because they're totally shut down. They've been shut down for years.
Well, yeah, everybody knows that. That's a whole like cliche at this point.
Yeah, nuts fucking shut down like motherfuckers. They don't care. You can still have sex. It's just that you're just shooting blanks.
Well, that's probably like a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Women have been doing it for years. It's called birth control pills.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, we've had to fuck with our hormones for like a long time.
Same thing. So,
don't cry.
Anyway, I do both though. I shoot testosterone, but I also take HCG and I'll take Clomid, depending on what's going on. Small amounts, just so I'm not shooting blanks and I don't have fucking little tiny little tiny nuts that fucking fall up into your body and shit. I think that shit would be weird as fuck. I don't want anything. And those drugs are cheap, so you know what I mean. They're about the same price as aspirin, so why not fucking take them? You know, just keep your shit shooting. Yeah. Where was I going with this shit?
I have no idea. Okay. I never know where you're going with anything.
About women HRT. Now, you can give a woman more than fucking 20 milligrams. All right? And it is beneficial. The doctors that know a lot about it don't know really when, the point at which when it becomes beneficial and problematic, though. Because if you start giving a woman 100 milligrams a week, she will slowly transform into a fucking male. It might take a couple of years, but she'll look like a dude. I mean, she'll basically become a dude, start thinking about a dude. I had put Jenny on 20, which just give her a little bit of mine, and she kind of got a little bit aggressive. So backing her down to 10, which that's also within. Every woman's different. You treat the patient, you don't. Things are not cookie cutter. She does better on 10. 10. And if you see what 10 milligrams look like, it's half a drop, or a drop a week. Now, the thing with Tess is that it doesn't quite do the same thing in a woman that it does in a man. It does a lot of the same things in the metabolism, but it doesn't do everything. Men, because we went through a puberty that involves testosterone, we became androgenized towards it. So it takes over and does a lot of the features of our body, which might have something to do with digestion. Digestion is what we're talking about. Could be that in a woman it's not test that's doing that. It might be something like, what's that, prestazone? Or what would it? Women use some stuff that guys don't even really use. I forgot the name of the hormone. Just the way they have been androgenized through female puberty. What's the word? Pregestone? I can't pronounce it anymore. I'm too old and I'm drinking too much.
I don't know. I'm just gonna say, I mean, I've always had kind of like digestive problems, like pretty much my whole entire life. My dad does as well, so it's just kind of like...
Maybe it might just be genetic.
I kind of feel like it's... My dad had it, my great-grandmother had it. My grandmother might have had it, she died of stomach cancer, so it goes along that line.
Right.
It's not too bad, but I just have to know to either avoid certain foods. I can't eat a lot in one sitting, or I'll throw up. And, well, I just have to know, well, if I want to eat something that I love, like tomatoes, tomato sauce, not tomatoes by themselves, like if I eat tomatoes in a salad, that doesn't do anything. But, like, tomato sauce will absolutely give me heartburn pretty much every time. Yeah. But, knowing that, I just have to kind of, like, know that going in and be like, well, I'm just going to have to be prepared to deal with it for the rest of the day. So that's just kind of what you got to deal with. Lion X Warrior, I got to jump off a bridge. Please don't do that. Electricity prices are off the roof. Somebody kill me. Where do you live at, though?
Yeah, where do you live?
Ours isn't too bad, actually.
We're in a best case scenario, though.
I mean, it's weird because the electricity in this house seems like the bill is less than at the old house, and this house is like 50% bigger.
Well, it's insulated better. It's less glass.
It's insulated better. I just think it's a lot more energy efficient.
The house has also got the lower floor is cinder blocks, which that helps.
The upper floor is cinder blocks too.
I don't think it is.
They said the whole house was cinder block.
Okay.
That was one of the things that they talked about, like hurricane safety. That's why the door opens outward and blah blah blah. Like,
and we don't have two. We don't have two central systems. We don't have one central system. We have two.
Yeah, one for downstairs, one for... They don't work very hard.
Yeah.
Because in Florida, that's kind of a big thing.
Right.
Honestly, the house where we used to live, which was only one story and was significantly smaller than this house, every couple of years in the summer, the air conditioning would crap out because it couldn't deal with it. Right. It couldn't deal with keeping the house at a comfortable temperature when it was like 40 bajillion degrees outside. So it blew up like a few times. Not blew up, but we had to have it fixed like a lot of times. And actually, like the landlords had to have it replaced at some point, did they not?
Yeah. When they live there though now, they're enjoying that new air conditioning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have just one central system in a decent sized house here in Florida, especially if it was the other one, which is a super Floridian type fucking house, where it was just all glass, so you can enjoy the fucking look of Dagobah and your neighbors. It didn't really make much sense. But
I'm not a big fan of like a lot of windows or glass. It's like, look, I don't want to see the sun.
Yeah.
I don't want to see all the motherfuckers walking around in their yards and shit.
Right.
That's why as soon as we moved into this house, I had the blinds and I closed them, and then I put up curtains and I closed the curtains and I never opened them ever.
This neighborhood is a lot more spacious.
Yeah, that's true.
We're sitting on just shy of 1 acre, and all the houses here, or most of them, are sitting.
They're pretty spaced out.
All the 2-story houses are like this. We have 1-story houses that are here also. They're kind of like the one we left. So, but this is a pretty nice neighborhood. You can look it up on YouTube. It's called Black Bear Reserve in Eustis. Now the photos of it are old. But
yeah, there's a photo of our house on there, but that was from a long time ago because there's like 10 cars in the parking.
Yeah,
in the driveway, and it's like I don't know. And the house doesn't look like that anymore because we did some landscaping in the front. We painted the front door.
New stuff.
So front door's black now.
Put new shades in the back. I'm gonna have to start repainting. It's gonna take a long time, especially under the present economic conditions. The show does not. Thank you very much, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
To be honest, the show does not make what it used to. Books don't make what they used to, but we're not bitching because we know that everybody's sucking.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's why I never really said that on the show because I was just kind of like, yeah, Patreon's down.
You guys are hurting probably worse than us, man.
You know, graphic design work is down. I'm still getting some, but it's not as much as I used to.
Yeah.
And so, so every month now it's kind of like a little more stressful than it used to be. I mean, we did spend a lot of money moving too, by necessity, so that kind of like bit into the shit. So, I'm a little more stressed out than I used to be. But like I said, everybody is going through that shit. Yeah. So basically all I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to like find more side gigs. I'm trying to find more, shit to do on the side to like make more money.
You guys, did he say where he was, where his energy went up?
Not yet.
Look, you guys, this goes back to when this shit started.
What was our last electric bill was $206.
For a house this size on a national level, that's fucking great. But we're in a best case scenario. We're in Florida. And Florida's running like almost normal. But the stress of the fucking problems everywhere else. The supply chains are fucked up. You order something, it takes forever to show up. Sometimes it doesn't show up. It's becoming worse than Brazil was in the fucking 80s where I was growing up.
I haven't had that happen though.
No,
I mean, I've been ordering stuff like shit. I ordered the Mummy trilogy on Blu-ray yesterday.
My paint never showed up from
Japan.
Japan.
I got it today. Oh well, from Japan.
Never showed up from Japan.
I don't order stuff from overseas.
Certain fucking medical supplies that I ordered from China took a month longer than they said they would take. They did eventually show up. Go to the stores here. They're artificially making the shelves look full. The shelves look full, but there is no selection. A lot of stuff's gone. New York prices for beef and meat. With Florida incomes, beef is fucking priced out of the market, even at Sam's. Some things are priced normally, other things are just priced just out of the market, where I could buy that, not for that price. Certain things, even here at Dollar General store, never get restocked. Like their store brand cookies, I bought them all. They never restocked them. 2 liters of soda.
They have other cookies,
packs.
just not the same, not the kind brand. Not the store brand.
Not the store brand.
Clover Valley, whatever they're called.
And I want the lemon ones, and they never came back. The 2 liters of soda, the prices were twice what they should be. Selection way down.
They didn't have any diet. They had lot. They had a lot of regular.
Yep.
They had everything for that, but they didn't have any diet 2 liters. They had diets in the 12 packs or 24 cases. They had that.
Yep.
But they didn't have any diet in the 2 liters.
You go to Publix, their store brand 6 packs, or excuse me, their store brand 12 packs, cans, and 2 liters. The selection is just not there. It's all regular, no diet. Very few cans. But the shelves look full. It's just that there's no selection there. This is all... Somebody was like, well, no big deal. No, this is fucking America. All right? My whole life, I've never seen that. Ever. Not in America. I saw that in Brazil. I grew up in Brazil like that. Because Brazil was a non-functional, third world fucking country. Always on the brink of civil war. Where cartels ran Brazil. Not the Brazilian government. All right. It's a bad feeling, a very bad feeling, because I've had a foot in both worlds, and I see it now. This is not a problem that can be fixed. Not by normal means. And that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to get in trouble. This is a channel. We're trying to make money. I know how this is fixed. Eventually it will be fixed. A lot of people aren't going to like it. I know how this goes. Just read a history book. We know what this is. They are lying to us. I know they're lying. They know that I know that they are lying. Yet they still lie to us. If you believe them, you are a child. This does not happen by accident. I know what this is. You can grasp for fucking straws and beams of rays of hope. There's only one way to fix this. Read a history book. Let me make another drink.
Lars Ulrich says, I've heard that drinking urine is the big nutrient in health.
Oh man, tell that.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Go ahead.
No, it's not.
Get off my channel.
No, it's not.
All right, go ahead.
No, it's not. That's just, I kind of feel like that's a urban legend that comes around every now and then. Look at these people drinking pee. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't some weirdos out there that'll drink their own pee, okay? I've seen it. I've seen My Strange Addiction. There was a whole episode about some weird motherfucker that drank their own pee. Or wanted everybody to believe that they drank their own pee, and maybe it was just ginger ale. I don't fucking know. Because they wanted to get on TV. But unless you're like a freak, no one's drinking their own urine. I don't think anybody is that... Well, I'm not going to say that, because there are some, like, stupid people out there, but most people are not stupid enough. And so, as soon as somebody says, hey, drink your own pee for health, it's, no thanks. I'll be unhealthy. That's fine. Zach says, thank you very much, Zach. I learned recently that autistic people are known to suffer lifelong gut problems. I sure as shit do, and no one knows why. Now, see, this might explain a lot. I was just thinking about this the other day because this was something that hadn't really occurred to me until recently. Because autism spectrum disorder manifests differently in men than it does in women. So one thing that I was kind of thinking of, I was reading this article the other day or watching a video or something like that, and they said, signs of autism in women, and I was watching that video, I'm like, holy shit, they're talking about me. They're talking about me. And, I never thought of that before, and I was just kind of like, oh man, what if, I don't know. But it's not like I have money to go get diagnosed or nothing like that, but that would explain a lot, because I do have, like I said, it could just be a genetic thing, because I think I mentioned before, my dad had, what do they call it, diverticulosis, whatever they call it, that thing where you have, pockets in your intestines that, stuff gets caught in, and it's always kind of, giving you digestion problems. And so I've always I don't think my shit's as bad as his, it's not as bad as his, but I just really have to watch what I eat and the amount of what I eat. If I eat and the older I get too, it's gotten a lot worse. I can't eat a lot of fried food, especially I can't eat a lot of fried food in one sitting. The last couple times we went to Red Lobster or something like that.
Progesterone. That was what I was thinking of, Jenny.
Okay.
Progesterone might be controlling that.
I wouldn't know.
Okay, I'll look into it.
But I'm just saying that, last couple times that we went to Red Lobster, I tried to even not get fried food, but there's enough on the menu that's fried that, I'd eat, and I wouldn't even eat everything they served, and I still was wanting to barf afterward because it was just too much. So,
Camp Guy's given advice on getting a hamburger. He's got a bunch of those in his certain kinds of hamburger you can ask for. I was going to talk about this earlier, but we get a bunch of hamburger from Sam's. Big old rolls of it. About $30 a roll. That price is pretty good. I'll pick up 3 of those. Those and the big old long pork tenderloins. And chicken thighs on the bone. Big packs of those.
I like thighs better than breasts anyways.
Yeah. Those actually, the prices are still pretty good on that. Wings through the roof. I mean, fucking Buffalo made a worthless piece of chicken fucking worth gold. Wings, go for the thigh, all right? So I got a lot of those in the downstairs freezer. But, oh shit, where was it going from? What I was going to say is a lot of the supply chain disruptions that are happening in the big stores is almost kind of happening because corporations are having problems. Try to source something local. We got all these local farms over here I got to start investigating. All right?
I mean, some people can. It depends on where you live.
Some people can. It depends on where you live.
We're lucky because we kind of live in a real rural area and there's farms all over the place.
Right. But there are farms in most states outside of the cities.
Yeah.
So if you're in that environment, try to minimize your dependency on corporate sources of food. See if there's somebody locally raising chickens, making eggs, and raising rabbits. Okay? Because we have them here. There may be also some local people fucking farming fish. If you get a relationship with those, and there's also lots of fucking farms up here for shit like strawberries and fruit.
If you want seafood, you should probably head over toward like Daytona and stuff like that because there's like I know some places over there. I guess they're still there, but like they have their own boats and shit like that.
Yeah. Word on the street is that the local food producers aren't having problems because they're not as dependent on the supply chains to make the products that they're selling. Chickens don't require much. Rabbits don't require much. So you got eggs and chickens and rabbits, and there's a good source of protein. Now, if you're in some states that are draconian, they might come in and says, no, we're going to shut this shit down because of the farting, all right? We want you to buy the corporate sources, and we'd rather have you starve. If you're in a state like that, vote with your feet. Get the fuck out of that state. Let that state starve. Because eventually, if the shit starts breaking up, that's normal in history, you're going to end up on the wrong side of the Berlin Wall once the breakup happens. So migrate towards a state that you think is reasonable. It's already happening. I've seen this before.
Oscar says, Jenny, watch X. It's still in theaters. I know. I want to see it. We just haven't gone to the theater. Maybe we'll go tomorrow. Maybe I'll go tomorrow. You don't have to go.
You don't want me to go with you?
I mean, you can, but I thought you'd be like, I don't want to go. No. You know what I mean?
No.
If you were going to be that way, then I'll
Tomorrow's
just go
Saturday,
without
though,
you.
isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's free entertainment because, like I said, we're already paying for that shit.
Right.
I mean, I got to pay for the gas, obviously, but, I mean...
Look at the cat. She's fighting that fucking mouse. She threw it.
Did you throw it, Poke?
She threw it.
Throw it.
Yeah.
But we already paid for the AMC Stubbs thing, and we haven't even gone to the theater for, like, a really long time.
You didn't remind me. I would have gone today.
I reminded you a couple days ago. How often I
live in the moment.
Every 5 seconds.
So I
have to come in every moment.
You gotta go. Let's go to the movies right now.
Bitch, I got shit to do.
Well, then there you go.
I can't remind you every fucking minute of stuff. Jeez. Have some agency of you're not like the Memento guy where you can only remember things for like 5 minutes. Come on, you're not that bad.
I was watching fucking TV. I was having fun here. I didn't need to go anywhere. If you want to go ahead and go.
Well, I can't go today. I couldn't go today because I got like a bunch of graphic design shit like piled on.
What is X about?
It's a horror movie.
Okay.
It's the same guy that did House of the Devil and In the Innkeepers and shit like that. Yeah, I've been wanting to see it. Zach says, also, I still think a show on autism would fit the show. Yeah, I keep forgetting. I need to write that down because...
Why would autism fit the show?
Yeah, I just think that would be an interesting topic. Well, we did a show about like all kind of like other mental health issues and stuff like that. I thought that would be really interesting. Well, I told him, I said, I saw a video the other day about autism symptoms in women, and I was like, oh my God, they're talking about me. And I was like, that was literally something that never occurred to me before. And I was like, uh-oh. Yeah, it was the whole thing. Let's see. I kind of have to pee. So probably you should talk about something. What you got there, Poke? Oh, look, you got the mouse in her mouth. Oh, here's a cute Poke.
What you doing, Poke? My cousin Wesley, he was deaf and he had autism. But they thought that came from when his mom was pregnant with him, she had a bad fever. I don't know if they gave her a vaccine during that, but when he came out, he was deaf and he was autistic. The deafness didn't really have anything to do with any problem in his ear. It was kind of like brain damage. I guess the area of his brain that controls hearing was disorganized. But he also had autism. But I think the autism actually came from the deafness. She was out in California at the time, and they were trying to do all kinds of weird therapies with him, fucking sensory deprivation type weird shit, or I don't know, putting peanut butter on it, making him smell things, trying to waken his brain up in these universities using this experimental treatment. Because she worked at a university, so she could get him. She worked at Palomar Observatory too.
What's the matter?
Oh,
I didn't say it in the book.
she's mad because she wants some treats. Hold on.
I didn't say it in the book, but my Aunt Lois from Mountain Poltergeist also worked with Carl Sagan. All right, so she knew who he was.
Okay.
And she said, and my mom agreed. My Aunt Lois said that Carl Sagan, back in the day, was the sexiest man alive.
He was pretty sexy.
Said he was the sexiest man alive. Said Carl Sagan could just show up and get laid. Said the women loved him.
I could see that.
Said it was just something about his braininess and his smoothness and his fucking...
He was super suave.
Yeah, and that he could sit there and that he could just talk a woman right out of her pants. Together, you and I will go to the stars. Vangelis playing in the background and shit. But my mom was like, "Oh yeah, Carl Sagan's hot." Yeah.
He was pretty hot.
Yeah.
He was like, well, I thought that like that was just my thing because like
No.
look at me, I'm the person that thinks Spock is hot and also Lurch from the Addams Family.
No.
So I thought like I was just being a weirdo, like normal.
No.
But
No, according to Lois.
yeah, I always thought Carl Sagan was pretty foxy.
According to Lois, he would walk around the university, and when he would show up, he'd talk to women and shit. When he'd walk away, women would swoon behind his back and shit, and fucking like they were falling out.
You guys
Because he was-
read The Demon Haunted World. It is
Yeah.
one of the best books I've ever read by Carl Sagan. One of the best books. Dragons of Eden is good too, but Demon Haunted World is kind of like a classic. Zach says, something I realized is how society mostly overlooks people like us, yet we're responsible for a lot of the innovations everyone else takes for granted.
What is like us?
He's talking about people like on the autism spectrum. That's the thing. It's like, it's kind of sucky because I kind of feel like it's gotten better, I will say. But there is a gap between people who actually create things and people who know how to sell things. That's why there's a whole thing where, people that write movies or come up with the ideas for movies or books or whatever, they're the idea people, but they're never the ones that like sell them because those are almost like two different things. It's very rare that you find a person that is like super, super creative or innovative or something like that and is also good at like selling it to the public. Those are kind of like two different talents and they don't usually coexist in the same person, which is sad.
The only guy that did that, if you ask me, it was close to Sagan, was the guy who took over for Cosmos, fucking big wrestler guy, black guy, fucking DeGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. He is also super sexy.
Yeah, he has a real good character and personality.
His books are also great.
And the thing with Neil deGrasse is the reason why he could reach out to society at large is that he was a science guy, but he was also a jock. He was a wrestler.
Yep.
So he had a foot in both worlds.
Yeah.
You know how to
and like I said, it's rare.
He knew how to talk to both audiences. So he could talk to geeks and he could talk to like men. You know what I mean? He was a man. But I would say Sagan was too.
Yeah.
Sagan was too. A man like me could fucking hang with Sagan, drink with Sagan, and listen to him fucking tell me about quasars and shit. And he'd make it sound cool. Like you were talking to Spock. He had that vibe to him. But when you look at that little player, I look at okay. as a man, growing up watching Cosmos, and then I go back and look at Cosmos. So I looked at it. It's dated, but I could still see it in Sagan.
Oh yeah, big time.
Sagan was a player.
Oh yeah.
Sagan was a player. All right. You could take Sagan to Vegas and have a good time.
Oh,
he was a dude like that.
Another scientist that was also a big ladies' man, Richard Feynman. Richard Feynman.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Also kind of hot, I'm gonna say. He wasn't on TV or nothing, but he was like pretty famous at the time. I've read some of his books. But yeah, so it does happen. There is some overlap. I kind of feel like, yeah, there's a stereotype that, not so much nowadays, but particularly going to like the 80s and 90s and stuff, and movies, you would get the thing that's like, oh, it's the geek, and they're super smart, but they look all fucked up and they're all like socially awkward and stuff, which to a small extent that's true, but not always. I mean, when I was in high school, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to say because I was like hung out with the smart people, but I also hung out with people that were we didn't hang out with like any jocks or anything like that, but some of the jocks, though, or the normal-looking people that were sort of jock or cheerleader adjacent, were just as smart as we were. So, and we hung out with some of them as well. So it wasn't like, it wasn't as clearly delineated as, I guess, like a lot of people maybe thought, or like as maybe it was portrayed in the movies. Because, like I said, I knew most of the people I hung out with were weirdos, but we knew like some kind of more normal people that were sort of like popular and stuff, and they were cool. They were like really smart. They were, they went on to do like fucking, amazing things. And so it's not really true that everybody that's like super smart is socially awkward and weird looking. That's absolutely not true. Starting 78. What about Jack Palance? Somebody said. Oh, John Gora says, what about Jack Palance, hot or not? Yeah, he had a quality. The thing about it, though, I know this is sad. This is just me. This is my thing. As many good movies as Jack Palance was in, and he was in a shit ton, I'm not saying that. Every time I see Jack Palance, all I can think of is that terrible, terrible Outlaw of Gore movie that he was in from the 80s. It was on Mystery Science Theater, and I've seen that episode like a million times, and I watched that one so many times because it's hilarious. Jack Palance is in that playing some kind of priest, king, wizard situation, and the hat that he wears in that is ridiculous, and I love it. And there's also... Is this from the same movie? Is it this movie, or because he was in like a lot of shitty movies, like during the 80s, like a lot of B movies, a lot of weird Italian ones, shit like that, like Italian ripoffs, which Outlaw of Gore was too. I think that was an Italian production. But he was in this one movie where he's sitting at a table and he gets hit in the head with what is very clearly a styrofoam rock. And I thought, well, there it is. That's his low point of his career right there. Although I will say that the hat that he wore in Outlaw of Gore is a close second. It was like this really tall... I can't even describe it. It's like this really tall... It looked like a Pope hat, kind of, but it like many times more ridiculous. So it was just kind of like... So every time... So sorry, Jack Palance. Well, I know he's dead, but it's like, sorry, Jack Palance, but as many awesome movies as he was in, that's all I can think of is him from Outlaw of Gore.
He's not hot.
Being like... Well, I don't know. He had a quality, though.
Okay, look, before we get off too deep in this, it's still early. I just wanted to know so I can plan ahead. Do you want to go to Not Cough Night at fucking Mannequins tonight?
Probably not tonight. I'm broke.
I got money.
Can we go tomorrow?
We can go tomorrow. Tomorrow is new wave type of...
Yeah, I like that.
We can do that. Okay.
I'm kind of digging... I'm guessing they're going to do that every Saturday now.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I mentioned last time that since Independent Bar moved, or Barbarella rather, they moved, and they're doing a soft open tomorrow night, actually. iBar is. At their new place. And then they're going to do a grand opening.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that.
No, that...
Okay.
Just wait till I'm done.
Okay.
He never waits till I'm finished.
I didn't know if you misunderstood what I asked.
No,
okay.
I don't misunderstand what you asked me.
Okay,
I listen.
Because I was saying mannequins.
I listen. I know you did.
Okay.
I know.
All right.
I was explaining to them. So, iBar moved. So mannequins who used to do something on Saturday nights just called What the Fuck Saturdays, which was just like whatever. You could just request whatever, whether it was punk rock, whether it was the Bee Gees, whatever. They didn't give a shit. They would play anything. But since Barbarella moved and they thought, well, maybe we can draw in some of the iBar/Barbarella crowd from Saturday night. So they said, we want to go like in a more new wave post-punk kind of direction on Saturday. So we went last Saturday and it was awesome. Every single song was good. I don't think he played a single shitty song like all night. I was like amazed. I would have danced to every song, but I was like, well, I have to like go to the bathroom and like rest sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're talking about how many pennies were thrown at Carl Sagan. Billions and billions.
Billions and billions.
That's a good one.
Probably.
Billions and billions.
Yeah, that dude, I mean...
Yeah. Adriana says she loved Carl Sagan's voice.
Everybody who doesn't love Carl Sagan?
Yeah.
He's a beloved, he's a national treasure.
Adriana, my aunt, worked with him, I think for him for a while, and knew him well. Palomar Observatory in California. So she knew him. She said he was the sexiest man of all times.
See, I could totally see that.
That's what she said.
I could totally see that.
So it's not just you.
Sometimes I worry because sometimes I'm like, ooh, that dude's sexy, and I feel like I'm the only person on earth that thinks that. But
she said when he was around, I think she was his secretary for a while, or secretary of a department that he ran. So her secretary in a way. She was his secretary. She said that he would show up from time to time, and female students who were like fucking hot would try to do he had star power. They'd do anything to like get up there and fucking interact with him and talk to them and ask him questions, and they would fucking talk, but yeah, and he's like, excuse me, I have to go. You know how he was, excuse me. I'll see you ladies later. And he'd leave like that when he turned his back.
You sound like Sulu just
then. Yeah. He'd walk off.
Oh my!
When his back was turned, they'd just go.
I have to change my panties.
Yeah, it was that kind of thing. Yeah, it was that kind of thing.
I can see that. You're making me want to watch Cosmos. You're making me want to watch Cosmos.
I have to put my eye through the thing. I have to look through the telescope.
I gotta do some science shit.
I have to do some science shit.
Seriously, you should read The Demon Haunted World. It's an amazing. It's a really, really good book. I have it somewhere. It's on one of the shelves over there. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. Like, I think some dudes, like, underestimate how much women, not all women, obviously, because nothing is universal, but a lot of women find intelligence hot and a sense of humor hot.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if you're smart enough and funny enough, that'll override physical stuff.
Well, in my experience, women aren't that physical. They're just not that physical. Some of them are, but in my experience, no, they're not that physical.
We're looking for other things. We're looking for other things.
A lot of it is security, and it's security and status. The higher the guy's status is in society, the more they like him. The more he can provide, the more they like him. Status has a lot to do with charisma. Okay, so it's always a charismatic guy who has high status.
Yeah, is this a dude that has like a good, like I said, you have to have something to back it up. You can't just be fake about it. But you have to have a good personality. You have to be kind of confident, outgoing, shit like that.
Here's the thing that throws a lot of people off. Charisma is very nebulous. Okay?
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Very nebulous. There are gangster rappers out there that have a lot of charisma. They can do very well in their time. They may not age well. There are all different kinds of dudes that have high charisma. It's difficult to fucking predict what women will respond to. But they're out there.
Because it's not one thing. Just like everything else, it's a lot more complicated.
Right.
I mean, you can say charisma, it's one word, but that's what I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, women are complicated, okay? Right. And it's just kind of like a certain set of aspects in one person will be really, really attractive And the same set in another person might not be attractive just because of the way that it manifests itself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And Carl Sagan had a charisma to him that a certain kind of woman would respond to, but there were other kinds of women that would never respond to Carl Sagan. They wouldn't even know who Carl Sagan was.
I don't want to be friends with those girls.
Well, they might be good girls, just they might be from a different culture, you know what I mean? They're a different, a different time, and they don't know who Carl Sagan was. It was Carl Sagan. Every man and every woman, everybody, is a person of their place and time.
That's true.
Okay, Carl Sagan in his place and time was the shit.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody else like that in that segment. So...
And even though, I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson is similar.
That's closest to it.
That's the closest to it. He has his own thing going on.
Yeah.
He's not just another Carl Sagan. He has his own thing going on, but...
Tyson's bigger, more physical, more jock.
Do you know what I love about... See, and this is what I... How I'm going back to, like, some personality traits that would be, like, really unattractive and some people are attractive in others.
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the things that I love most about him is that he's super, super picky about movies. Very famously, he complained about just jokingly complained about the Titanic movie that James Cameron made, because he said James Cameron tried so hard to make this movie as accurate as possible, like, the ship and everything like that. And he's like, and yet when the ship sank and they looked up at the sky, that's not what the stars would have looked like on that particular date.
Yeah.
And it threw him out of the movie, and that made me laugh so hard. I'm like, that is adorable. Now, if anybody else had said that, it would have pissed me off, like, shut up. But because it was him, I was just kind of like, that's fucking hysterical. Because he wasn't completely serious. That's kind of like his thing, that he's, like, super nitpicky about, like... things to do with, like, space in movies. He's always kind of like, that's not right. You know what I mean? And that's like, I don't know, that just makes me laugh.
Adriana says that Robert Plant was fucking very charismatic and hot. Yeah, that was another man of his place and time.
Could have done without that hair, but otherwise, I agree.
That place and time, that was the
I know. But I've never been a fan of that hair.
He appeared in a time where hippie and metal was starting to emerge. So he was kind of part hippie, part metal. Skinny motherfucker with that hair. He could sing like a motherfucker. And he's singing about Tolkien and mystical, magical and shit and my woman and this and that. And I'm dead on the killing floor. And it was a mixture of fucking blues and Mississippi Delta blues mixed with British mysticism and Tolkien. It was...
Which if you sang about that, usually if you didn't look like that, or you
couldn't get away with that.
You couldn't get away with that because everyone would just think dork.
Man, you motherfucker! But in that place and time, with that delivery and that look, Robert Plant was the shit.
That just goes to show you can pull off
the belly
anything.
shirts and the fucking bell bottoms in those days. Yeah. Mr. Mountain Hop and shit.
A lot of stuff has to do with confidence. And confidence,
context.
Confidence and context, and confidence is not really something you can fake. You have to be a person that I am completely comfortable in myself, whatever it is that I'm wearing, even if it's ridiculous or something like that. You have to own it, and you have to absolutely believe with every fiber of your being that you own that. That will come across.
The dream. They're not living the dream.
That will come across. If you try to do it and you don't have the complete, like, you're a little bit insecure or something like that, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. No. You got to commit. Got to commit.
Well, at the time that you're seeing all these recorded films of Led Zeppelin doing their thing, they were at the top of their game. They were basically rock gods. As long as they stayed in character and did their thing and put on a good show, no one was going to really question what they did. They were kind of like Pink Floyd. Just didn't question Pink Floyd. If it's on a Pink Floyd album, then shut the fuck up. If it's on a Pink Floyd album, then shut the fuck up.
Pretty much.
It's on a Pink Floyd album.
Look.
They were fucking masters of their genre. You do not question Dark Side of the Moon.
It's like a mic. It's like a mic drop, and they're just like,
It's
"You're
on,
welcome."
It's
Bye.
on a Pink Floyd album. You have no authority to say anything about it. And fucking Roger Waters and Gilmore and shit. They were musical geniuses. They were very, very, very good. Very good. You just had to accept it. These are British dudes at the top of their game, at the right place, at the right time, and no, you didn't question that shit. To this day, young people can listen to The Dark Side of the Moon and they realize that that's something very special. Very special. Real good. And I'm a goth dude. That wasn't... I listened to that shit because it was awesome. A lot of people listened to that. They knew exactly what they were listening to.
A lot of goths did.
Yeah. Even the punk rockers, you know, fucking... John Lydon, he couldn't stand Alan Parsons' Project and prog rock and fucking Pink Floyd.
I get it.
Not because they sucked, it's because they couldn't do that. They knew that. And he said that. He said, yeah, they were awesome, but that shit was musical perfection. Fuck that. That's not the world we came from. They were ghetto, hood, all right? Council estates. They didn't have that kind of musical education, so they came at music a different way.
Which is fine. Both ways are legit.
Right.
I like both things.
Two different styles.
Yeah.
Now, America had that too, but when it came to the United States, it would have been Donald Fagen. All right? Donald Fagen was from Steely Dan, and then he went solo. That was our version of Pink Floyd, the musical perfectionists. All right? Steely Dan was fucking great. That's not goth music. Her dad listens to Steely Dan. Her dad listens to Steely Dan.
Yeah, and I'm old.
Yeah, all right.
And my dad is even older.
Yeah. But he's right. Steely Dan is fucking great band.
They are, yeah.
The lyrics are fucking perfect. The fucking...
I will say one thing...
They're just really, really good.
One thing about my dad, he was into like a lot of kind of like Southern rock, which I was never really... It's like he liked the Eagles and Lynyrd Skynyrd and stuff. That wasn't his favorite, but... He got me into a lot of really good shit when I was very small. He got me into the Beatles when I was like tiny. And I was just kind of like, because I grew up listening to the Beatles and the Doors and shit like that. It was always on in the house. And, you know, and Steely Dan, stuff like that was always on in the house. And it's like, I think for a time when I was a teenager, as most teenagers do, I was like kind of rebelling because I got into like new wave and post-punk and stuff like that.
Tila just showed up.
All right.
What's up, T?
But the cool thing about my dad was that my dad was kind of like, he liked all his old stuff, but when the 80s came along, he liked some of the new wave shit. He's like, oh, Duran, that's good. They're a good band. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, so he wasn't like averse. He might be now. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but he was actually like kind of open. He did like a particular kind of music, but he was pretty open like when the 80s came along. And I would listen to like new wave in the car. He's like, hey, this is good. You know what I mean? So he wasn't like an asshole about it. Yeah. So, which I thought was really good. And like I said, one of the things that I think is awesome, one of the best things about my dad was that he raised me, him and my mom, they raised me in a house that was like filled with music. We always had the Beatles or the Doors or some shit like that on. And so I grew up with like a lot of really good music always on in the background.
Seems like everybody in the audience is fucking agreeing with us that, Pink Floyd and Steely Dan and some of those prog rock bands, doesn't matter what your subculture is and what you normally listen to, those bands were great bands.
Yeah, it's just good.
Including Led Zeppelin.
It's just good.
They were just great bands. Good music, good quality. It was authentic. They were doing what they were doing. It wasn't a copy. That's what it was. You know what I mean?
Well,
you're like, okay.
There are some bands that transcend genre.
Right. Yeah.
Like I said, there are some bands, and I'm not, shitting on it. There are some bands that, like, for example, that's our subculture. If you're a goth or you're into industrial, there are some bands that only people that are into goth and industrial are going to be into that shit because it's very specific. But then there are some kind of bands that anybody that's into anything can appreciate how, even if it's not like their favorite, they can still appreciate that that's really good shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Jenny knows, she'll walk on me. I love reaction videos. I'll watch them all day long. And there's some of the fucking highest rated reaction videos are young black people listening and reacting to old music to see what they think of it. And man, universally, when they fucking see Pink Floyd or they listen to Pink Floyd, one dude is like, "This is my favorite band. This is the best band of all time." and he's like, he's a basketball player and shit, and he's like,
and he'd never heard Pink Floyd.
Never heard of Pink Floyd, and fucking he started going into more Pink Floyd, certain tracks off of Dark Side of the Moon, certain tracks off the Animals album, and he's like, "This is fucking awesome. They don't make anything like this anymore." It's like, this is, and he's like, oh yeah, I see what they did. It's just, Pink Floyd was its own thing, and they were just musical geniuses, and they knew how to write music, and they knew music theory, and they just knew how to fuck with your emotions, and they knew how to put on a show in that genre, you know. People recognize it when they see it. And they also like Steely Dan, because it has that it's like, just like Cam Guy says, it was very, very smooth. Mm-hmm. And the lyrics were real gangster. All about being the loser, having everything and losing it. You suck. It's you suck lyrics. You suck, but you know what? It's awesome that you suck. It should suck. You know what I mean? That's
doing it. It's
yeah,
all right.
Right. Life sucks, but that's the romance of it. You know, you can't win forever. That's the fucking that's Steely Dan vibe. You know. And
pretty much everybody can relate.
Everybody
to that,
can relate,
no matter
to that.
what generation they're
right?
from.
Yeah. You had everything, but you bet it at Vegas and you lost it all. You fucking suck. But that's the game.
See,
that's the game.
I kind of feel like maybe this is why shit like 80s new wave is still like pretty popular, even among like younger people and stuff like that, because it's the same kind of It's coming from a place of,
it's not fronting, it's being true.
They're being honest. They're being earnest.
Right.
And I think the thing that happened, and I think this started to happen about in the 90s, if I remember correctly, because I was around back then, and I was, in my 20s, so I remember this happening. I remember there was some time in the 90s where everything went, culturally, we went to a place where, we're just going to, everything became like meta and like a joke. And so everything kind of became frontin' or joke or like, you know what I mean? Everything was like a joke. Yeah. It wasn't cool to have like genuine emotions or to express genuine emotions or to be like earnest. If you did that, then it was like funny.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like a lot of people are responding to the actual, even though from our point of view it might seem like cheesy, and sometimes it is, depending on who we're talking about. But in the 80s, a lot of that new wave music and stuff like that, they were being very earnest. They were being very honest about their emotions. And I think people are picking up on that. Yeah. It's not glib. It's not kind of like, oh, yeah, I feel like, oh, I'm such a loser. Oh, I'm feeling like that. And it's like self-aware. Yeah. And I kind of feel like that whole self-awareness thing that came about in the 1990s was a little bit detrimental. It made everything, it put everything like at one remove. Like we're at this far from our emotions. We're not gonna like feel any emotions. We're just gonna like pretend, and then we're just gonna like laugh about it. So I kind of feel like it's like a fake version of that. So I think that's why a lot of people still respond to stuff from before that time.
Now Tina jumps in and goes, "Yeah, black people love old rock music, just like me. I love it." Let me tell you, Jenny. I tell you, Tila. I know you're not as old as we are, but I remember what it was like back in the day. Black dudes were very ethnocentric about what music they would listen to. They wouldn't listen to white music, okay? They'd listen to black music, but white dudes listened to both. We listen to white music and black music.
Yeah.
If the black music was good.
I mean, everybody I knew did.
Yeah. That's why you got all this black dudes going, man, they stole this from us. We were listening to it. We didn't steal it. We listened to it.
I mean, we did kind of steal it, but...
But no, it's just called influence.
Yeah.
Because we were listening to it, and it was evolving forward.
Yeah.
You know, because we were listening. But a lot of it had to do with the social constructs of the time and access. Black dudes and black girls couldn't break out of the bubble because there was no internet back then. They weren't going to go to a concert, a metal concert, or go down to a fucking store and buy a metal album. They didn't even know what that was, or a rock album. They might hear something on the radio, but they had to hide it from their friends that they were listening to that shit. Now that you have the internet, everybody can see everybody else's stuff, and you got black people and black dudes going into the past and making videos and listening to shit out of the past. Go, oh man, shit was great. Which is great because it's all one big fur ball now. Everybody knows.
Well, you know what's weird? It's like, do you remember
has access
do you remember the big deal they made in the late 80s and early 90s about every time you'd have like a black punk band like Bad Brains, or Living Color, or Fishbone,
good,
or something like that, where it was like a crossover, everybody had like a big huge deal about it. Bad Brains was a big, huge fucking deal.
Well, it's because it was new.
Yeah.
It was new.
Yeah.
But it was also happening in rock where Run DMC and Aerosmith doing a song together.
I remember that being a huge fucking deal when that happened. That was like a huge fucking crossover.
And rock and rap were blending. Like Beastie Boys, which was a blend of them both. So it's always been happening. It's just happening faster now. And now there's no restrictions. You don't have merchants in the way of the access, if you understand. So everybody can now see what everybody else was doing, even in the past, and why people didn't know, and this and that. You see, I knew. When I was back in the 80s, a young goth coming up, listening to Bauhaus and Sisters of Mercy and Skinny Puppy, I was also listening to Public Enemy. Because at that time, Public Enemy and Skinny Puppy sounded kind of alike. It was kind of like industrial, with all the fucking scratching.
And you would be surprised how many like white ass industrial people were listening to Public Enemy and shit like that.
That goes back
because they didn't really see a difference between those two things.
Black people didn't know about it, but white people knew about it. Black people didn't know of the crossover, but we did. At the time when American punk rock, with the Ramones and and Blondie in old New York, back when it was a ghetto. They were also listening to early rap music. Malcolm McLaren was there.
And reggae.
Buffalo Girls and reggae.
They were super into reggae.
Yeah,
well,
Fab
and
Five,
the
Freddie.
Brits were totally into reggae.
Right. So even early punk rock, American punk rock of the fucking early 80s was already crossbreeding with fucking rap in New York in the 70s. Okay? And
because
a lot of black people didn't know.
It was all outsider music.
It was outsider music, right?
So they didn't really see a distinction. They're like, well, this is our genre. That's it. Nobody thought like that back then. I don't really remember things going into really discrete categories until later.
Right.
I mean, I kind of feel like when I was young, like in the early, like late 70s, early 80s, everyone that was into like weird shit or like outsider music, no matter what it was, kind of hung out together. Right. Nobody really like thought about it. You like weird shit? I like weird shit.
Right.
That was like pretty much it.
When I was living in Detroit in 87 and 88, 89, coming up in the early goth clubs, which was like this, we're talking about the Crow era. All right, the Shelter, St. Andrews Hall, City Club. The shit that was happening around that, you had Skinny Puppy, Front 242, with these are the industrial bands, all right? But you also had a house, and a house was a mixture of industrial and rap and R&B. House became techno. People think techno came from Europe. No, it came from Detroit. That was white DJs and black DJs spinning in the same clubs, doing a fusion. Back in Detroit, around 87, 88, 89, right before I went to the Army. I was there. Go to the restroom.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's always been, even going back to the old days, like a lot of new wave from the late 70s, early 80s, particularly coming from Britain, was influenced by reggae because a lot of young, white British kids were listening to reggae and were incorporating it into their stuff. That's where the whole subgenre of ska came from. That was like sort of like a punk reggae fusion. And even goth bands like Bauhaus like incorporated like some ska stuff into their, you know, into their repertoire, into their reggae, or incorporated reggae into their repertoire because a couple of the members were really into that. So, like I said, it wasn't, I don't know, I kind of feel like it wasn't as compartmentalized back in the old days. Like I said, it was, you had two things. You had like the mainstream, which was one big monolithic thing, and then if you were into something other than mainstream, there was like all these little bitty things around the edge, and if you were into any of those things, no matter how different they were, then you kind of gravitated to one another just because you weren't into the monolithic mainstream thing. So I think there was a lot of crossbreeding. It doesn't work that way anymore because now everybody kind of has their own little niche and they do their own thing. But back then, there weren't any of these little niches, really. It was just kind of like, there's the mainstream culture and we are not part of that, even though our interests don't align completely. Like, we're still like outsiders, so we just kind of hang out together, so our shit like melts together. So I think maybe that's where that whole like explosion of creativity came from around that time. I could be wrong, but I kind of feel like that's how it felt to me at the time, growing up. Tila says, did the Animals sing House of the Rising Sun?
Yes, they did.
Love that song.
Great song.
My brother, Eric, used to have a punk band who played around in Daytona and Orlando, DeLand, many places back in the day. And they used to do a kick-ass cover of that song. It was so, so good.
There's nothing like listening to the House of the Rising Sun in the French Quarter, dressed up as a goth kid, walking around in the fucking the late 1990s, man. It was so fucking funny because it was awesome because that's what they were talking about. French Quarter. There is a house in New Orleans they call a rising sun. Yeah. What's funny is that you hear that dude's voice and you look at that little dude singing it. He looked like Little Swole.
Well,
like Little Swole.
I have to say, my brother's band,
friend Little Swole,
my brother's band, who did an awesome version of that song. My brother played guitar.
Yeah.
And the singer was this little bitty skinny dude with glasses. His name was Augie.
Yeah.
And he sang the shit out of that song.
Yeah.
I saw him do that like so many times because I used to go see him. There used to be like this little coffee house in Daytona, like on the beach side. What was it called? Up and Atom? It was called Up and Atom for a while, like ATOM, like Adam, you know. And they used to play there all the time, and it's like I used to love every time. Everybody fucking went ape shit when they played that song.
Yeah.
They did a really good
Tina says, I've
version.
heard that song, Buffalo Girls Go Around. Yeah, Buffalo Girls Go Around the Outside. Around the outside. Do-si-do-di apart. Okay, that band was managed by, I believe, Malcolm McLaren. Or he was involved in that band. And he put that together after he was in New York and saw basically rap acts. They were doing a bunch of scratching and stuff. And this is out in some fucking burned out fucking place out in the Bronx, you know. It was like something out of Mad Max. That was back when New York was poor, all right. And he put that band together, and it did real well. Malcolm McLaren was the manager that put together the Sex Pistols, a punk rock band in England. I don't know if you never heard the Sex Pistols, go listen to the Sex Pistols album. Never mind the Bollocks. We're the Sex Pistols.
The Bollocks.
The Bollocks, yeah. It's good.
Holy Parish of Doom says, don't let me be misunderstood. I think that's another Animals
song.
Yeah, that's actually also a really awesome song. If you haven't heard that one.
But T's talking about all kinds of stuff. And then talking about Floyd and Genesis. Genesis was great, too. Genesis was great.
I was more a fan of Genesis when Peter Gabriel was in the shit. Because Peter Gabriel, I kind of feel like, because I liked a lot of his solo shit, too. Games Without Frontiers is still one of my favorite songs. He was like a total weirdo, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. I kind of feel like once he left, they went more in like a chart-y direction. Yeah. which I don't hate it. I think I like the Genesis stuff from the 80s, where they were very much up in the charts and on MTV and stuff. I like it more now, but at the time, I was just kind of like, fuck this. It just seemed too dad music to me.
Yeah.
But I like it with, like, Land of Confusion and all that kind of stuff, but...
They were another one that was about perfection. They were the perfection of pop music at that time. And it was like yuppie pop music. It was like a dude on Wall Street would listen to that.
That's what I'm saying. I kind of associated it with, like, yuppie rock.
Yuppies, all right.
Which nobody liked in the 80s.
Now, T comes back and says, I love that fucking Buffalo Girls song. Okay, look. Buffalo Girls was a fucking proto-industrial rap song. It was a time when Gothic industrial music and rap were the same genre. They were the same. They split later. It was just a weird time in history. Proto-industrial had a lot of rap in it, and rap had a lot of industrial in it at that time. It was underground music for people that were in the underground. And rap was underground. It was not...
I mean, now it's like ubiquitous, but
no, rap was
back
something
then it was not.
Some dude in the basement would do. I mean, look, the first real rap album I got my hands on was Yo Bum Rush the Show by Public Enemy. And the cover are these fucking black dudes with berets. They look like black nationalists, all right? Like Black Panthers or something. They're in the damn basement with fucking maps everywhere over their damn fucking... putting their hands together over their control table. You know, I don't know what it was. It just looked it's like a military meeting of fucking black nationalist terrorists. That's what it looked like. And that fucking album was the shit, man. Go listen to Yo Bum Rush the Show. It's real primitive. It's like something you would make in your basement with equipment that you just bought. But it's genius. It's genius. And that's the way Skinny Puppy's first stuff sounded like. It was goths in the basement with equipment trying to make songs.
Well...
And it's not for you. The music is not for you. It's for them. You're just watching it.
See, that makes the best shit.
That's what makes it so
It might not
special.
make the most money for those people but that's the shit that's going to be remembered.
They're talking about their
forever.
friends. They're talking about their friends and what they want. You don't have anything to do with it. You're an observer. And that's where true genius is. That's where genres come from. That's where innovation comes from. And old rap was better, much better than new rap. Because the corporations and big business and money wasn't...
Yeah, I kind of feel like, look, I understand the, you know, I like money. You like money. You like money? I like money. We all like money. But this is a constant struggle because it's always kind of like you want to create something that is true to you.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to starve to death. So, you know what? So it's really kind of like this thing, but you have to remember that, like, most of the best shit that's ever been created was created because that person just wanted to create it. And it's like, look, this is me. And people still remember it maybe 100, 200 years later.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't make any money at it at the time.
Yeah.
Look at fucking poor H.P. Lovecraft or somebody like that who wrote all those stories. And, you know, he died without really knowing that anybody, like, which is sad. He didn't make any money at it, even though now, like, fucking his shit's in the public domain, so everybody's, like, making stuff off of it. But, so it's kind of, it's a trade-off, you know what I mean? And especially, like, somebody like me that's, like, a, you know, a writer, and it's like, I like to think that maybe one of my books would, but honestly, it's just kind of like, I'm always kind of like, well, do I want to write something that's, like, popular? I don't really know how to do that. Or do I want to just, like, write something that I want to write? Because I kind of feel like shit that I'm interested in, no one else is interested in. Yeah. But maybe I shouldn't worry about that. Yeah. Maybe I should just, like, just do me and, like, not worry about it.
T said, thank God for reaction channels because it inspires her to go back and to listen to all the old music that her uncles and her, and like, her relatives older than her.
They are good. I do like those.
They're very good.
I do like those.
And I like to record before I die and our generation dies off, of the fact that when you looked at something like Public Enemy, we were talking about earlier, its success wasn't from black people, it's from white people. Because white people bought those albums and listened to it. And you say, why? Why would they buy that? It was the black nationalism that got me to listen to it, and the sound. I'm now in another world, listening to this other dude with his problems. But I can relate to his problems. I'm now seeing it from his point of view. It's funny, half the shit that he says. It's supposed to be funny, though. But then it's also, I understand his frustrations through it. And then, like, the videos started to come out, which add to it. Okay? If it did not have the black nationalist element, that band would have failed. And a marketing executive would have told you, no, don't put that in there. Don't put that in. Because those motherfuckers are part of the damn machine. No. Make that shit look black nationalist as a motherfucker. Because white people will buy it.
I'm kind of
They're
like,
oh, yeah, because it's a show, and I understand that. It was a great idea. Totally
in
understood.
some ways, this is like a weird thing to say, but things that are very, very personal to you.
Yeah.
And you're expressing things that are very personal to you. If you do that without any worries about, oh, is this going to resonate or blah, 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 just put out what you feel. And you would be amazed how many people fucking resonate with that.
Right.
You think you're alone in the world. I'm the only person that feels like this. Look at the fucking Smiths, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Morrissey, as much as he's like a shitbag nowadays.
He's not a shitbag.
But like back then,
yeah.
You know, he was like this weird, awkward, you know, fucking socially isolated kind of like, but everything that he said, it resonated with a whole entire generation of people and is still resonating with people.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like, don't worry too much about, are people going to relate to this? Are people going to just like talk about your own fucking feelings? And you would be amazed at how universal that shit is.
Yeah.
Because you think that you're the only person that feels that, and that is not the case. That is not the case.
Yeah. I mean, and, you know, fucking, I'm listening to fucking Chuck D and fucking Flav, you know, fucking doing their thing, and I understand exactly what they're talking about. And here's the thing, even though they don't realize it, I go, yeah, I'm white, I feel the fucking same way. I feel the same way.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not just you, man.
That's what
we
I'm saying.
all feel this way.
That's what I'm saying.
But you're able to, what they offer you is a transportation to another viewpoint. That you can now see the world from another viewpoint. And you go, yeah, it would look that way to you, wouldn't it? It would look that way. I feel the same way. You know, it's that kind of stuff.
But see, that's in a way, that's kind of what was awesome about, particularly like the underground of like the 70s and 80s, is that we didn't really have any framework of, you know, this subgenre, that subgenre. Like I said, everybody that was not into mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
You would hang out with that person because it's like, well, you're not into mainstream stuff. Like, you like weird movies? Or you like weird music? Okay, let's hang out together. And so you would like trade tapes and you would do kind of shit like that. And even if all of their shit wasn't exactly to your taste, you would kind of like get another perspective on stuff.
Right.
And, you know, and I don't know. I don't know, like in a lot of ways, I think that now it's a lot better because you can like find whatever you want. You could find anything from any timeline. But back then you were kind of like forced to like hang out forced. That's like a bad word, but
the medium was narrow band.
It was
very, very narrow band. You had to listen to albums to know what was happening in the outside world.
Yeah.
Okay. That was our Facebook or our Twitter. We now have Twitter and Facebook and the internet, and you can now all talk to each other. You got people that try to stop that, but we all know what the hell's going on if you're smart. Now, Adriana says Lou Reed also seemed to do song out of isolation. Yeah. Well, Lou Reed was another scene, and he's good that you brought him up. That was the heroin scene, a lot of it. Heroin and art in New York underground.
I love Lou Reed. I love Velvet Underground. I love that whole.
Now, whenever New York... I
don't love heroin. I just love that whole...
they were the proto-goths, really, of their times.
Big
the goth
time.
scene was a lot like that.
I love Velvet Underground.
Yeah. The early goth scene was a lot like that. But you got to understand something. He's talking about old New York. Never mistake old New York for the present New York of today. Everything is in its certain time and place. It's always moving around. The New York that they were talking about is long gone. It's now very high rent. The New York they were talking about has a greater analog in Detroit. It was a lot more like Detroit, what they're talking about. So that's one of the things, though. New York's always trying to get fucking street cred off these old fucking characters. But these old characters we're talking about, the Detroit that's been long erased by money. Go to the restaurant.
But I will say that, I mean, New York still got cool shit going on. I haven't been there for several years at this point, but I used to go there pretty much every year for a long time. And I'm a big fan. I like New York City. I always really liked New York City. And I like the whole vibe of it. It's not like it was back in the old days, but, you know, when everyone was, like, squatting there and everyone was, like, getting heroin and some of it was, like, bombed out and shit. But there's a romance in that, but I kind of feel like maybe the romance is only, like, in hindsight, perhaps. But I still like going there. There's still, like, some remnants of the culture that still remains there, or at least was, like, the last time I went there. I think the last time I went there was, when was it? 2000? Oh, it was a long time ago. 2009, which doesn't seem that long ago, but it was that long ago. But there's still, like, cool shit going on there. DJ Maniac is from there. He can tell you. There's still some cool shit going on there, probably. But, Tila says, I found a few older white people reaction channels, and they are hilarious. Now, see, that's probably something that I would prefer, because, honestly, I like like, Tom loves those reaction channels, because every now and then, like, I'll go in the bedroom, and he'll be, like, watching, hey, these, like, 19-year-old kids are, like, listening to Pink Floyd for the first time, and their minds are blown, or whatever. But in a lot of ways, I think it would be funnier to watch old people, like, listening to shit. I don't know why. I just think that would be funnier to me.
Nah, we talking about old people listen to that music? Yeah. They reject everything they hear. They're like, nah.
That's what I'm saying. So in a way, that'd be funny because they'd be, like, all cranky and stuff. But
what I was saying about New York, though, is that... Go ahead and finish that off.
Okay.
The New York that Velvet Underground was talking about is the New York that you see in the movie Midnight Cowboy.
That's what I'm saying. It's not there.
New York's been gone a long time. Okay.
New York is still cool. I've been there, but it's not like it was back in the old days. Yeah. And like I said, I'm not sure that you'd have wanted to live there back in the old days, but it did, like, produce a lot of really, really cool shit. In the sense that sometimes really cool shit comes out of adversity. So there was just, I don't know, it was just like a whole, like, vibe. It was a whole time and place. So you kind of you had the Velvet Underground, you had Blondie, and you had, like, fucking CBGBs, you had the Talking Heads, you had, like, all that kind of shit going on at that time. And I don't think that will ever be replicated. Because, like I said, nowadays, I'm not saying that, oh, thank you, Hayden. Great show. Thank you very much. That's awesome. I'm not saying that, like, nowadays is worse than back then, because that's dumb. But in a lot of ways, as much as I like nowadays that you can just have access to anything, Hayden gave us a $20 super chat.
Oh my God, that's so much money. Thank you very much, Hayden.
I know, that's amazing.
Does he have a comment?
No, he just said great show.
Thank you.
Great show.
Thank you.
But, I mean, there's always a trade-off. I like a lot of things about nowadays because, like I said, back in the day, it was much harder to have access to things. If I wanted to watch a movie from the 1970s, it was very difficult. I'd go to the video store. They don't have it. Now what am I going to do? I'm fucked. I can't watch it. And so the fact that people nowadays are people that grew up nowadays and just, like, are used to just having access to anything. I can watch any movie I want, pretty much. I can listen to any music I want, like, right now. And that's, like, kind of mind-blowing. And I like that. I like being able to, like, come up with my computer and be like, hey, I want to watch this movie from, like, fucking 1972.
Yeah.
You know,
Now look, DJ
let me watch that. And it's just kind of, and I can do that, and that's like fucking crazy.
A while back, DJ Maniac said, shit, Public Enemy's Nation of Millions was always an industrial album. I mean, dude, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
And you're talking, Maniac is he's a DJ and he's mixed. And fucking, he can attest, back in the day, the difference between in the early industrial and early rap, there was very little difference. It was... The only difference was the race of people involved in the subject matter. But the sound, the vibe behind it, there was a lot of crossover.
Because everyone was experimenting.
They were all in the same clubs, too. Yeah. Just different nights.
Nobody had done that.
Yeah, right.
It was all like new technology. It was all like burgeoning.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, I don't know if you'd have that like replicate, because back then, you know, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have...
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of the equipment to do stuff was like really expensive. So when you had people doing these experimental things with music or film or whatever, that was like the first time that had been done. I mean, nowadays you do something like that, everybody's like, seen it, because everything's been done, I feel like. We might have got to a point in history where every single thing has been done.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say that. That's probably not true. But... it does seem like everything's been done.
The technology allows you to do anything you can think of.
Which is good. Yeah. But there's also kind of like a dark side to that, too. There's also kind of
a lot at once.
Yeah.
So you can't
and that's the thing. You can't... Well, yeah, and you can't... And everybody can't... I mean, back then, it was kind of like... We didn't have the internet, so it was kind of like... You had... Like I said, you had mainstream culture, and then you had underground culture, and... everybody kind of knew, like, when the Weird movie came out, everybody saw that. When the Weird album came out, everybody heard that.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Nowadays, that would never happen. Because there's so much stuff.
Today, I was looking at my tablet, I was watching a video, and on YouTube, it went to a commercial, and it now gives me music videos, which I like that. I'll listen to a music video, so they now give me music videos. And I don't know what band this was. It was a Japanese girl. I think the name of the band was OMG, or the song was OMG, because she was saying, "Oh my God!" It was a mixture of Japanese and English, and she was dressed funny as fuck, and it was just like this crazy. And I watched it, it was creative. It was a Japanese girl singing a song called OMG, and I don't know why they suggested it. It just came on as a commercial. It was weird. You probably would have liked it though.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's just weird.
I like a lot of things.
It was just weird. Yeah. OMG, I think is what it's called.
John Gora says, lack of access forced you to watch things you otherwise wouldn't. That's actually a good point.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, like I said, you had to, you know, when I grew up in kind of like a rednecky town, we didn't have like any good radio stations or anything like that, but we did have, you know, I could get MTV. I watched 120 Minutes. We had like, you know, fucking... What was that other thing that USA had? Night Flight? It was Night Flight, right? I think that was USA. And so we had that, but other than that, it was kind of like you had to kind of go word of mouth. All of the cool like indie flicks, even shit that is like now pretty well known with like David Lynch and stuff like that. That shit wouldn't play in Daytona Beach. Yeah. Fuck that. You couldn't go see that in a theater.
Gramthars isn't here. But he remembers back in Michigan, outside Detroit. Back in the day, in the 80s, we had a fucking record store called Harmony House. And me and Steve were always on top of what was cool, because we have friends with one of the girls that worked at Harmony House. We called her Harmony House Karen.
Oh, I got a story about that too.
Yeah, and Steve was hitting Harmony House Karen, and he was a teenager, and she was in her early 20s. That's just how it was.
He was literally hitting her, or he was having sex with her?
Oh, yeah. He was hitting her. She was like 23 or 24. He was probably about 18. He was old enough.
This is an older woman.
Yeah, an older woman. And fucking Karen would tell us what albums to buy.
Karen.
Yeah. And Karen was, looking back on it, she wasn't a goth, but she was goth adjacent. You know what I mean? She was like... she would be like a chick that would be into like Gene Loves Jezebel and fucking. She told me you need to get that Gene Loves Jezebel album. That's a good album.
It is a good album.
Yeah, and that's why I bought that. Yeah, I bought.
Which one? Discover.
That
was the
one.
Had
the Porter on it. So I think that was before that. It might have been called... No, it was called Desire, I think is what it was called.
Well, Desire was the song.
Okay, it might have
Desire,
been Discover.
the song,
it might have been Discover.
Was on the album Discover, because I had that on vinyl.
Rhino the Plasty on it, and it
yeah, that was Discover.
Discover,
sure.
yeah.
I might have that. Did I sell that?
I have it.
I used to have it.
She told me to get that album. No, but Karen she was cute too. But she was probably about 22, I think. She probably wasn't 24. She's probably about 22. But you had to know what the fuck was going on. You had to know people that worked, and we called that working in the industry. She worked at fucking Harmony House Records.
Well, see.
But she knew what the records were. She knew that power was different back then. You know?
I had a similar situation.
Yeah.
Like I said, I grew up in Daytona Beach, which was, it's very rednecky. Everyone's like into country or country rock. Everyone's very into Lynyrd Skynyrd. It was very bike week. It was that. But on Beach Street, a guy that had graduated from high school a year or two before me, called Eric Levin, he actually opened a record store on that street. It was originally called, what was it called? I know that he called it something earlier that got him in trouble with the law, but then he later called it Criminal Records because he ended up getting in trouble. But I can't remember what it was originally called. So we called it Criminal Records. Now, Eric Levin, we kind of knew him. He was older than us, like 2 or 3 years older. But that was the place to go. And once I got into Bauhaus and Alien Sex Fiend and stuff like that, he was into that shit too. So a lot of the times I would go, because back then the store was like small. Like I think his dad like bought it for him or whatever. And so it was really little, but he would always have like all these imports and stuff. So we would go in there, it's like, what you got? Like, what's good? And so we would ask him. And when I got into Bauhaus, kind of like on my own, and Alien Sex Fiend and stuff, so I would go in there and it's like, what you got? And he was really into Bauhaus too. So he was like, look, I'll like record the shit for you. So, and he would give me stuff like for free. So he gave me Mask and he gave me like all these albums from back then. So I got a lot of shit from him. So I kind of had the same situation where this guy that was a couple years older, and he had the means to open his own record store. It actually expanded. It might still be open. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's called Atlantic Sounds now. I don't think it's called Criminal Records. I think it's called Atlantic Sounds.
She's asking about my vinyls. All right. Here's the weird thing. I'm looking in here, and the fucking album is gone. It's got to be in this stack somewhere. Rebel Yell. Remember that bitch? Hell yeah. The original master, Dark Side of the Moon. This bitch is probably worth a lot of money. All right. Remember this one? Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix?
The Jimi Hendrix Electric Ladyland. I got it. That's an original.
That looks old as shit. Yep.
Okay. David Bowie, Man Who Sold the World. Okay. Original. Devo. Are We Not Men? Original. Duran Duran.
Oh, first Duran. I love that album.
Okay. Original Hendrix. Yes. Yes, indeed. Axis, Bold as Love. Fucking great album. That album's in there. Original. Billy Idol, Whiplash Smile. Album is in there. And the record jacket. And the record jacket. I gotta put that in there. This is a great album. Look at the damage that happened on that.
Yeah, what happened to that?
I don't know. They're ancient.
Well, yeah, mine are.
This one here is gonna...
I don't even remember what ones I have. Like, I have a whole bunch right here, and I can't, like, even think of all the
This one's gonna freak DJ Maniac out. Maniac, look. The Mission.
God's Own Medicine.
God's Own Medicine.
That's a good
reference
album.
to heroin on the goddamn album. All right. Look at this. Original Labyrinth. Labyrinth, bitches.
Look at that hot motherfucker on there.
Yeah. Okay. Not
Tell
original
me
reproduction. Uma Guma. Relics. Pink Floyd Relics. Okay, look, original fucking release. David Bowie.
Let's Dance.
No, Never Let Me Down.
Oh, Never Let Me. Is it?
Never Let Me Down. Okay.
That looks like the Let's Dance cover.
Original. Hendrix. Johnny Be Good. Okay. Original. Grand Ram. Seven the Ragged Tiger.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yes.
I used to have that and I sold it like
Original.
a dumbass.
Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's right. Texas Flood. Remember that, bitch? This is a fucking good album. Okay. Immaculate Fools, original. Remember that?
Holy shit.
Remember that? That's an obscure fucking band.
You got a lot of good shit. I'm going to take my records down in a second.
Yeah.
We'll see what we have in there.
A lot of mine are gone. That's just what remains.
Yeah, mine are too. I sold a bunch because I was broke.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, Couldn't Stand the Weather, original. That's all I got left. That's the last of my vinyl.
All right, let's see what I got.
All right.
Let's see what I got. I'm going to... Okay. Let me get up here. Ugh. I gotta move this thing because there's the thing that's on top of the thing. And then we'll see what we got here. Okay. We're doing our vinyl collection. I'm gonna do this down here. Please forgive me for not being on camera. But here we go. Let's see what Jenny's got. I don't even remember what I got. What do I got? This is Bad Religion. Stranger Than Fiction. On vinyl. Don't step on my shit. This is good shit. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. The Weeping Song. 12-inch single. Look at that shit. I love this video. It's like, oh, it's so awesome. Tones on Tail. Pop. You guys, I love this fucking album. I love Tones on Tail. That was, in case you don't know, that's Daniel Ash and Kevin Haskins from Bauhaus. That's another one. Tones on Tail.
Yeah, it's a good album.
It is. Also, ooh, Julian Cope. Fried. I love this fucking album. I love Julian Cope, you guys. He used to be in the Teardrop Explodes, which I probably have on vinyl here somewhere. But I love this fucking album. If you're into Pink Floyd, you'd probably like Julian Cope as well. Like early Julian Cope, I'm just saying. Also got Alien Sex Fiend. This is the 12-inch single of Now I'm Feeling Zombified.
Yeah, good. It's good. That's a single? Okay, yeah.
It is. It's a 12-inch single.
Yeah.
I used to have Curse. I don't know what happened to it.
T, you need to fucking look up Alien Sex Fiend. Now I'm Feeling Zombified. You'll like that one, yeah.
Echo and the Bunnymen.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's a good album.
Songs to Learn and Sing.
Yeah,
This is kind of like their single compilation. This is one of the first vinyl albums that I bought. It's still in good shape, considering. All their good shit is on this. Do It Clean, all of that. I Promise, Back of Love, Cutter, all that. Really good shit. This is kind of a weird one. It's my Halloween horror. That's my Halloween sound effects album. I have that too. Some of you guys will love this. Weird Al Yankovic in 3D. This has Nature Trail to Hell on it, which is my favorite Weird Al song ever. This also has, what else is on here? I don't even remember. Eat It, which is the Beat It parody. Brady Bunch, Buy Me a Condo, Lost on Jeopardy, Polkas on 45. This is like a super funny album. But Nature Trail to Hell is my absolute favorite. That's an original song, by the way. This is OMD. It's the one that has So In Love on it. Also has 88 Seconds in Greensboro. This is a great fucking album. I love this fucking shit.
Poop.
We got The Damned. Phantasmagoria.
Oh, great album. That is a great album.
That's Nick Cave's wife right there.
Yeah. T, if you want to hear a goth album, listen to this one. The Phantasmagoria. It's a beautiful album.
I love that album.
It's very good. Really good album. You want to hear this one and First and Last and Always by Sisters of Mercy. This one is a little bit more Pink Floyd-ish.
I love
kind of like proto Pink Floyd. It's good, real good.
I mean, this has Shadow of Love on it.
Yeah.
And
it's got Grimly Fiendish.
Grimly Fiendish is on it.
Yeah.
Is It a Dream is on there.
Yeah.
Edward the Bear is on there.
Show her the back. That's a fucking early goth powerhouse right there. And now this woman, I believe, wasn't she in Interview with the Vampire? Didn't she play one of the fucking...
Well, I don't know. Like I said, she's a model.
I thought she played one of the vampires.
She's
down
married.
in the French.
She's married to Nick Cave now.
Yeah.
So they've been married a long time, but that's Nick Cave's wife. I also got. Let's see. The Stranglers, the Raven.
Yeah.
I love the fucking Stranglers. Yeah. I hate to say, but like my ex-husband got
man, seeing this album makes you want to listen to this again.
The Stranglers are really good. By the way.
It's hard to believe. Look how young she is.
Well, yeah.
Man, I forgot.
This is a 12-inch single, Peter Murphy, Line Between the Devil's Teeth.
Yeah.
With a Strange Kind of Love version 2 on the B side. When Peter Murphy was like super hot, look at that shit. Yeah. He doesn't look like that anymore.
It's old crackhead now.
Although he's playing live nowadays, and he looks okay. He doesn't look super fat.
Okay.
You know what I mean? This right here, look how dusty this is. This, in case you don't know, there's no text on it. This is
the save Phantasmagoria to listen for later. You'll like it.
This is the infamous New Order Blue Monday.
Great album.
12-inch single.
Great album.
Very famously, if you've ever seen 24-Hour Party People.
Yeah.
They said, we lose, how much do they say? We lose $5 every time somebody buys this album. Because of, like, the way that it was printed. They wanted it to look like a floppy disk. You know what I mean? But for a long time, I don't know about nowadays, but this was the largest selling 12-inch single ever. This is Blue Monday. Mm-hmm. And I have it. New Order we're very into. We're not putting any like fucking shit on.
Yeah, and that's the original. That's an original, and it's in great shape. Mine are all fucked up. This is it. That's mint.
Yeah.
That's mint.
I've kept my shit in good condition.
Right. Yeah.
That Petrol Emotion. Do you guys remember That Petrol Emotion? They're mostly an Irish band, but they had an American singer. He was from the Pacific Northwest. This is Groove Check. Not my favorite song of theirs, but this is a 12-inch single. I always really like them. So I have that as well. Let's see. What's this one? Oh, this is also Peter Murphy. Ooh, come here. This is one of his very early singles, Blue Heart.
Which one is that?
Blue Heart.
I don't remember that one.
That's off his first album, Should the World Fail to Fall Apart.
Okay.
And, yeah, that's that. So, like I said, he was very young. This was 1980... When did this come out?
That's an original.
Very early 80s. Yes, it is.
That's original, yeah.
Yep.
Her shit's in good condition. My shit's all in poor condition.
This is a bootleg. Peter Murphy, Exotic. This is a bootleg of a live show that he did. This is notable because it has Peter Murphy covering Purple Rain, the Prince song. And it's actually a pretty goddamn good cover, too. The audio quality is not great because it's a bootleg, but couldn't resist it. Look how hot that motherfucker was back in the old days. He doesn't look like that anymore, like I said. But, yeah. So I have that, too. Let's see. Oh, I also have this. I forgot I had this. What is this, even? This is a picture disc of Peter Murphy, and it's like a interview. I guess it has an interview on it. I haven't listened to this in a long time. I don't have a record player. But yeah, this is an interview disc with like Peter Murphy on it. So I have that. This is, again, Peter Murphy's first album, Should the World Fail to Fall Apart, from 1986, I think this is. Like that. It's a good album. It's a little rudimentary, but it's pretty good. Deep is better. Actually, Love Hysteria is better. Love Hysteria is good. Deep is good. After that, Cascade was good too. After that, not so much. I also have Bauhaus. Bela Lugosi's Dead, the 12-inch single, which also has Boys on the B side and the longer version of Bela Lugosi's Dead. So I have that in very good condition. This is still in plastic. This is Bauhaus 1979-1983. This is all their kind of singles and whatnot.
Oh, that's
also
a great
in
album.
very, very good condition.
Yeah.
Also in very good condition. This is like all their good shit.
That album is... I remember this from high school. Gramthars isn't on there, but I remember fucking Jason Quinlan had this album. This is the album that he had that introduced me to Bauhaus.
Yeah.
Man. Fucking
It's got a little bit. It's got a little bit mold on it.
I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this since high school.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Look at what all's on there. Look at the back.
This album is so good. This album is fucking awesome. If you don't know anything about goth music, this is kind of the album you should start with.
This got all their best shit on.
Yeah.
It's got all their best
It's
shit.
a double album. You want to start with this one, and
What's on here? Double Dare, In the Flat Field, Dark Entries, Stigmata Martyr, Bela Lugosi's Dead,
Oh, yeah.
Telegram Sam, which is a cover, Saint Vitus Dance, Spy in the Cab, Terror Couple, like everything. Ziggy Stardust, Inferior Fear, Olive Hills, everything.
You want this double album, and you want Sisters of Mercy, First and Last and Always, and this is the goth primer.
Yeah, that's kind of
Once you have this double head and the other one, then you go, oh. And then maybe like the first fucking Skinny Puppy album, Bites. And then you go like, oh, shit. Okay, that's kind of where it came from. Damn. Jenny, we got to listen to this bitch.
I told you.
We need a record player.
Yeah, we do. Also,
And records sounded better than digital because it was analog. As
well,
long
yeah,
as the record wasn't
well, because
scratched.
CDs and MP3s are compressed. Like they press everything down into like a smaller like bandwidth.
T says that is one beautiful album cover. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
That
was their logo.
This fucking album kind of changed my musical direction in life back in high school. I listened to this, and this ended the metal era. It was like, oh, okay.
Well, for you it did.
For me, it ended the metal era.
Yeah.
This one and First and Last and Always. Did you show that yet?
I don't think it. Well, that's toward the bottom.
Okay, all right.
I also have the Bubble Men are coming, which, if you don't know, this is the 11 Rockets side band.
Yeah.
They all, I don't know if it was them, but they dressed up in like Bubble Man costumes and like did a couple of songs in the costumes. And this is actually still a good song. But yeah, so I have that.
God, man, I can't remember how classy that bitch looks.
I told you.
T, this bitch here is classy and spooky. This is a fucking spooky double album.
I love that shit.
And it's fucking great. Man, I want to listen to this.
Well, we'll have to buy a record player.
We had to get a record player, yeah.
Got Tones on Tail. That's kind of like, this is kind of like, not pop, but it's like all of their hits on one thing. Yeah. Like I said, Tones on Tail, if you don't know, was Danny Lash and Kevin Haskins from Bauhaus and 11 Rockets. This was their band in between that. There was also Glenn Campling, who was a roadie for Bauhaus at the time. And they had a band for a short time, and they're actually quite awesome. If you like dance music, if you like kind of like dark dance music, you should totally get into
this was a good band too. It came from this one.
Yeah.
But for me, this is where it was. But you know what I mean? I'm a traditionalist.
Me too in a lot of ways, but and this is one of my favorites. Oh, bitch. Birthday Party Junkyard.
I don't know that one.
Oh, this is such a good album.
What's that?
Birthday Party, if you don't know, was Nick Cave's. It wasn't his first band because he was in the Boys Next Door, but then like the Boys Next Door became the Birthday Party. Now the Birthday Party is one of my favorite bands ever. It's punk, it's blues. They're Australian, so it's an Australian punk version of an American interpretation of blues, and it is fucked up and crazy, and I love it. This album is not my favorite. I think my favorite of theirs is probably the EP that they did that had Jennifer's Veil and stuff on it, but this one is fantastic. This one has She's Hit. This one has Big Jesus Trash Can. This one has Dead Joe on it. This one has Dim Locator, which I love, which is underrated. This is a fucking great album. I love this shit.
Adriana says Daniel Ash and Peter Murphy, hotness overload. In the day.
In the day. Daniel Ash, I haven't seen him in a while. Last time I saw him, which was a while back, he still looked pretty hot.
Yeah.
Peter Murphy, not so much.
She's talking about these two right here.
Peter Murphy.
She's talking about those two right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in those days, holy crap. You couldn't get hotter than that.
Yeah, goth dudes did not get any hotter than that back in those days. Those are the archetypes.
Peter Murphy was kind of like the hottest shit ever.
Yeah, that's the guy that's fucking in the clown sweater. The checkers, yeah. The other one is Daniel Ash.
Daniel Ash pretty hot too.
Yeah.
Although, gotta say, of all the dudes in Bauhaus, Daniel Ash, I mean, they were all hot. I'm not saying that. It was kind of like a Duran Duran situation. They're all hot, and they're like, if you have to rank them, you feel bad.
Yeah.
But Peter Murphy, hottest. Gonna say Kevin Haskins and David J were kind of like, I thought they were hotter. They're kind of nerdier, but I'm kind of into that.
Now, Peter Murphy was fucking a friend of ours, all right?
Yeah.
And that shit, fucking, he's a dick.
Well, everyone knows.
They gotta be a dick. They're from the dick era, all right?
The dick era.
They're from the dick era.
That's where Tom comes from.
Back when you could be a dick to your fans. It didn't work out, though, in the long run. But, musically, great guys. Musically great. Fucking,
honestly,
they changed a lot of stuff.
Bauhaus's Mask is still one of my favorite albums.
Mask is a great album. Right, it is.
I like that. I mean, the first album is good, too. Yeah. But Mask is good because they dipped into a lot of different... This is going back to what we were saying earlier. They dipped into a lot of different musical styles. There's some reggae on there. There's some kind of proto-metal on there. There's all kind of stuff, but it still, works as a cohesive whole. It's, really, really good.
Yeah, and they had class. They had very good taste.
Well, they were
very good taste.
Their whole thing was they were into... Well, the reason they chose the name Bauhaus was because they were into, early 20th century architectural... Or, the architectural and, artistic style of the time. So a lot of the images they used were from silent movies. They used a lot of stuff from Nosferatu and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, stuff like that. So they were really into that whole kind of German look. They were into German expressionism. Yeah. Right. So they were into that whole look. Right. And they were kind of into that sound too, but they were trying to modernize that look into a modern day sound. They were also into glam. They were also into fucking punk, reggae, and they kind of mixed that into their own thing.
T, get that album. Listen to that shit.
I mean, that's got all their best shit.
You'll understand.
I think
it's just guys in the '80s, white dudes in the '80s who were fucking kind of in the dark underbelly, trying to harken back to another era, but also mixing in what was happening to them at that time. It was rock and retro and gothic and dark at the same time. They were very, very good and instrumental in their place and time. Pre-internet, there was shit tons of control over the information flow. This busted out from the underground. No one could stop it. Crazy kids like us were listening to it going, oh man, hell yeah. Today it wouldn't be noticed, I don't think. But you got rock dudes like Starry Night who are friends of ours who love that. It's just that the times have changed.
I mean, it's easier to find nowadays, which, like I said, is good.
Right. This album was something that you had to, know what it was, and you would have to know where to find it. There weren't many of these.
I can't even remember where I bought that. Where did I buy that? I think I bought that at Atlantic Sounds in Daytona, actually.
It was
he got it for me.
It was underground shit. It was like holy grail
I don't remember how
stuff.
much I paid for it.
Because, look, you guys saw my reaction. I didn't know you had that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that since high school. That's
I've had that all this time. I don't even remember, like, how much I paid for that. Probably, like, more than I could afford.
Probably a lot.
At the time.
Yeah.
I think I bought it.
They didn't make many of those.
I think I bought it at Atlantic Sounds.
Right.
In the early 90s. Maybe late 80s or early 90s.
Look at that shit.
I don't remember how much it cost me, though. It was an import back then, so it probably was very expensive.
It's a stylized...
I think I paid $30 for that.
It's a stylized profile of a face in metal.
Well, like I said, that's
very
Bauhaus.
kind
of like the Bauhaus.
The Bauhaus style
from the
German
1920s. Yeah. They kind of like modified shit from that because they were really into that.
Right.
They were really into that.
Oh, we got a fucking super chat. Thank you very much, Judd.
Oh, did we? Oh,
Judd
thank you,
just
Judd.
sent us a 20. Thank you, buddy.
Judd.
Thank you, bud. Judd must understand.
You're awesome.
If you understand,
all right,
Judd, go ahead.
Let me do this now.
Go ahead,
because
show them the rest of the vinyl you got.
Okay. I only have like 3 or 4 more.
Okay, yeah.
This is Modern English After the Snow.
Oh, man, that's a good album.
You guys.
That's a good album.
You only know, like, I Melt With You, which is an amazing song.
The rest of the album is good.
This came out in 1982. I bought this in 1982 when it came out. And it's still, like, in really good condition, surprisingly. Because I don't, like, fuck with my shit. The rest of this album is amazing. I kind of feel like people just know I Melt With You, which, like I said, is good because that's a good song.
That whole album is good.
But the rest of this album is... I love this album so much.
Yeah.
I bought this album in 1982.
Right.
This is one of the first albums that I bought with my own money, because I was, like, only 11 or 12.
You know what she's talking about?
Was
I'll stop the world and melt with you.
1982.
Yeah, that's what she's talking about.
The first album I bought with my own money, in case anybody wanted to know, was Synchronicity by the Police, which I also love. This was, I think, the second one. And I listened to this. So this whole album is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, I Melt With You is amazing.
Yeah.
But the rest of this album is as good or better than that. It's very, very proto-goth, I kind of feel like.
Yeah.
It's,
T knows
I don't know.
I
love
know
it.
that song. She likes it. Yeah, you will love that
This album is so good.
The album's really good.
The whole album is good.
Yeah.
The whole album is good.
That album will fuck you up.
This album is so good.
I haven't heard it. I
love
haven't
it.
heard that album in a long time either.
I love it. So let's see what this next one is. It's all a surprise. I forgot what I had. This is this is another one. It's like blood curdling sounds of terror. I have like a lot of old school Halloween albums.
Everybody's leaving the show. We only got 17 in there now. Oh well, hey man, we're talking about albums. Yeah.
Also, there's this one, which is spooky sounds and like scary stories. So I have that too.
I don't know that one.
And then we have, what is this one? This is, I mentioned this earlier, this is the Teardrop Explodes Kilimanjaro. Another one of my favorite albums of all time.
What's on that?
This is Julian Cope.
Yeah.
He's a Welsh fella. And he was in Teardrop Explodes. They did 2 albums, Kilimanjaro and Wilder. And then he went off on his own. Now, his solo stuff is good too. But Teardrop Explodes, I fucking love their shit. And I kind of feel like maybe nowadays people don't know much about it. It's weird. It's a little bit, if you're into like Pink Floyd, like especially like Pink Floyd, like Syd Barrett type of stuff, I kind of feel like you'd probably be into this too. Because this is very like 80s throwback to like psychedelia of the 60s. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. So if you like that, then you would probably like this as well. But I love this fucking album. So yeah.
Amy says, I didn't know Bad English was goth. Wow, this stuff. Yeah.
Modern English, not Bad English.
Yeah, that was Modern English. Modern English was goth. Yeah. And goth new wave. We listened to it.
Dead Kennedys, Halloween, 12-inch single. I got that for 50 cents, as you can see.
Yeah. What is that?
Dead Kennedys.
Oh, which one is that?
Halloween.
I don't know that one.
And here you go. This is the one that you were waiting for. This is First and Last and Always.
Oh, yeah.
My vinyl.
You have it. I don't have it.
I have it in vinyl.
Fuck. Okay, look.
I'm cooler than you, officially.
Yeah. All right, look.
I'm gonna fucking reach out to fucking T. I showed you that Bauhaus album. That was what, 1979 to 1983 was the name of the Bauhaus double album. This is the other one that you should have. It's Sisters of Mercy, the first and last and always. If you ask me, as far as single albums go, this is the best gothic rock album of all times.
Yeah, if you want to know what like gothic rock is,
It's this.
start with that.
You're right.
Start with that.
This is the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon for gothic rock albums. Okay? This is Andrew Eldritch and those spooky little motherfuckers right there. This is their first full-length album. They came out with this one, and then they broke up after this. Andrew owned the name Sisters of Mercy, and the band continued kind of like a solo act. The band continued on as Mission UK.
Yeah.
All right. Which Mission UK is great too. But really, this album was the best fucking goth album of all times, if you ask me. And does it have the inner sleeve? It doesn't. It doesn't have the fucking... Normally, the version I had, the inner sleeve, had a picture of them standing outside the Majestic Theater in Detroit. Because Andrew, and that's him right there, he was a British guy. Andrew actually thought Detroit was the most gothic of all cities. It was a place where all the manholes steamed.
Even though he was not goth.
Yeah, well, he claimed
said,
not to be goth, but
okay,
that bitch invented a lot of goth shit. But he was so goth he couldn't say he was goth.
That's very goth of him.
Yeah.
I'm not goth. Shut up.
The names of the songs on this album are Black Planet. Okay. Black Planet on the edge of the highway, running down Highway 101. The Black Planet, if you ask me, I think he's talking about the moon. All right.
Well, it's an eclipse. I think.
It's an eclipse. All right. Walk Away is No Time to Cry.
Every
a rock
single
in a
song
hard
on this
place.
is good. Every single song on this is good.
Mary Ann. Fucking, that's the gothic national
Shit,
anthem.
bitch. Every
is
time,
Mary
like,
Ann.
to this day,
They still play that song.
Bitch came out. How long did this go to this?
1984, was it? 84, 83?
It was a long time ago.
Okay.
85.
85?
They still play Mary Ann
At the clubs
in
today.
goth clubs to this day. And
That's right.
sometimes Black Planet, but usually Mary Ann.
Mary Ann.
And
right.
everybody dances to that shit.
And then on the second side is First and Last and Always. Fucking great song. Possession. A fucking great song. All right. Fucking 9 Wild 9.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
9 Mile 9 is my favorite.
Right. Then Logic. But they fucking...
It's amphetamine.
It's actually called Amphetamine Logic. But they couldn't say that in that era.
I used to have
Amphetamine Logic.
I used to have the cassette tape.
Yeah.
And it actually did say amphetamine
Logic.
But they couldn't
say
amphetamine like on a lot of stuff, so
Right.
they took that out of
They
a lot
had-
of stuff.
they
But I
had-
used to have a tape that said that, but I
At
don't
the
have
time,
it
there
anymore.
were industry standards. They couldn't make drug references.
Yeah.
But it's actually called...
It's called amphetamine.
Amphetamine Logic.
Yeah.
And fucking... and then the last song on the album is called Some Kind of Stranger.
God
which is
damn it.
another fucking great one.
That's my second favorite song
Right.
on that.
But
It was
this
so
is
good. It's so epic. It's
Right.
epic.
But this is...
It's an epic song about a one
Right.
night stand.
I mentioned this album on the show before and have had people contact me over fucking Facebook. People I don't even fucking know said, I want to thank you for recommending that album because I can't stop listening to this album. And these are like teenage kids saying, I can't stop listening to this album. This is a fucking deep, dark, enlightening album of these spooky ass fucking white boys. Okay,
Spooky white boys.
bringing you the gothic gestalt. Okay, and what's funny is that they're young dudes. They're like in their 20s, but it sounds like old men talking to you.
Well, see, that's
Like
why
their
I'm into
wives.
like Joy Division.
That's what was great about them. Yeah.
Because that's why I was like Joy Division because fucking
Yeah.
Ian Curtis
Right.
is like singing like he's like fucking 80-year-old man and he's
Right.
like fucking 19 or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And you would never know. And then he killed himself, and he was like 23. It's like fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I thought...
She said she added it, and fucking she's interested in seeing fucking vinyl records. Yeah, it's just... T, listen to that one and the Bauhaus album.
Honestly, I had more than that, because I used to have... One of the ones that I remembered just now when you were talking. I used to have Echo and the Bunnymen, Porcupine, which was one of their first albums, which was like a double album. And I used to have that, or it was like at least a gatefold. And I don't know what happened to it. Maybe I sold it. Because when I lived in my old apartment, I was broke, and I sold a lot of my vinyl because I needed some money. And I kind of feel like maybe that's one of the ones that I sold, which bums me out now that I'm thinking about it. But I used to have a lot more vinyl than that. That's just like the old vinyl that I have. And the last one that I have, and I think I showed this on the show before. You guys are going to laugh. Weird Eye Yankee Bag. Dare to Be Stupid. Which has, what's on this? Like a Surgeon, Dare to Be Stupid, One More Minute, which is... One More Minute, that's an original song, I think. And that's amazing. Yoda, which is a parody of Lola by the Kinks, which is also amazing. Slime Creature from Outer Space, I think that's an original. Girls Just Want to Have Lunch. Yeah, this is like super fun. Super fun. I'm a big Weird Al fan. I know that's like weird, but I have a couple of his shit on vinyl. But I used to have a lot more than that on vinyl, but I sold a bunch when I was poor. And now I'm kind of like regretting it. Because like I said, I used to have... I'm thinking of like shit that I used to have on vinyl. I mean, the one that I'm remembering, I used to have Echo and the Bunnymen, Porcupine on vinyl. And now I don't have it anymore. So I must have sold it. That sucks. Well, you know. Tila says, oh my god, it's so interesting seeing vinyl records. Yeah, I kind of wish I had more than that. Like, I don't have anything to play them on. We don't have a record player. But I didn't really have the heart to get rid of these ones. And like I said, I used to have... Oh, another one that I used to have was... what was that OMD album that had So In Love on it? Ooh, what was the name of that? But the one that came out in like 82, I want to say. Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. I used to have that on vinyl too, which is a great album. And I kind of feel like I probably sold that. So I used to have like probably way more vinyl than that.
Shit, I used to have a fucking stack of vinyl that fucking wide.
I did too.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, remember when I used to live at that apartment on Aloma?
Yeah.
I had like probably like 2/3 more than that, and I sold them.
Yeah. So I'm looking through my shit
because I'm remembering a lot of. Now that I'm looking through that stuff, I'm remembering like a lot of vinyl that I used to have that I don't have anymore, and it's kind of bumming me out.
Yeah, and vinyl did sound better. It did. It had a lot of resonant frequencies involved in it. It was more... It wasn't digital. It was just more ambient sounding. It's just... you'd have resonant frequencies coming out of stuff.
Well,
it sounded more acoustic. It was analog. It just sounded a lot.
Well, like I said,
better.
The thing about CD, MP3, stuff like that is that to translate that sound into that format, you have to compress the sound. So it's not as... When you listen to an album, it's a lot wider.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot like... There's a lot more space to it.
She's asking, did we clean the albums? I think we just kind of wiped them down with a light rag and
there's like a little rag.
It was like a little velvet thing.
Yeah.
It was like a little eraser, but the eraser pad had velvet on it.
Yeah.
And I think we sometimes hit them with a little bit of alcohol.
Yeah.
To take the dirt out of them. It was mostly more important back in the days to change your phonograph needle.
Oh, that too, yeah.
And they had a bunch of different needles you could use.
Yeah.
Some of them fucking were like more narrow, and they did certain things. And you had to have a stereo with an amplifier and good speakers. And it was all analog. That particular album, I remember First, Last, and Always from Sisters of Mercy, when they digitized it and put it on a CD, it lost a lot of its ambient, its resonant frequencies.
It doesn't sound quite the same.
Didn't quite sound the same. It sounded a lot better on fucking vinyl, on a good record. You could hear harmonies and fucking resonant frequencies between bass and guitar, and shit sounded a little bit better. The digital versions are okay, just not as good as the original record. I don't think the engineering, taking it from record or vinyl to digital, they didn't do a real good job of engineering.
Well, you can see why hipsters are like way more. That's why like bands nowadays are still releasing stuff on vinyl, because it does.
Yeah.
It does sound better.
It sounds more real.
There's more. What's the word? There's kind of like a more like there's more realness. There's more.
Yeah. It sounds like they're in the room with you.
Yeah, there's more like
really
tangibility.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's there.
Right.
Which, like I said, digital stuff, like I said, I got used to like the CD stuff and the MP3s, and it's almost as good.
Yeah.
But when you listen to vinyl, particularly over headphones, it gives you a different, it actually feels like it's there with you.
Yeah.
In a kind of living way that doesn't really translate to digital formats.
Now, T, I'm going to say this, and I say this, and I have said this before, but I'm saying it fully in public in front of you people fucking live. The best album of all times is Dark Side of the Moon from Pink Floyd. But right there with it, is First and Last and Always from Sisters of Mercy, in my opinion. And I showed you guys that album earlier. And people who are not even goths have come back and said, man, thank you for talking about that album. That is the best album of all times. You put that bitch in your car stereo and you won't take it out of there. It's just this somber rock that sounds very deep and very minor key and very kind of like, and it's passing slowly, killing time. Well, better than living. I can't do it. When you see it, when you listen to it, you'll understand. It just has a very deep and somber sound to it. It sounds very important. It sounds like you're listening to something very important. And these wise men are telling you things. Okay. It's like, doesn't it sound that way, Jenny?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. And then that Bauhaus double album, though, is like right there, but the vibe is a little bit different.
Well, that's a different vibe because Bauhaus, it's like right I said,
they were angrier and more experimental and
a lot of people like to classify them as a goth band, which they were, but they had a whole bunch of other shit going on.
There's reggae on that album.
The whole bunch of... the best thing about Bauhaus, in my opinion, and the reason why they broke up after 4 or 5 years, was because they were 4 very different individuals that were into 4 very different kinds of music. And that came together for a little while and captured lightning in a bottle. It was just like this kind of amalgamation of all this cool shit from all these underground genres, but that couldn't sustain itself. But I love, like I said, Bauhaus's Mask is one of my favorite albums of all time just because it's all over the place. It's fucking goth, it's reggae, it's metal, it's they did everything, but it still works. It still works as a cohesive whole, which is amazing.
Now Maniac comes in and says, if I knew that Public Enemy and fucking
they did, that's right.
They did. They turned together. It failed.
I remember that.
It was 2 diametrically opposed racial scenes. Fucking, they chased the white kids off.
I do remember when they were.
It was ahead of their times, but the creators understood what was going on.
The creators knew. A lot of people knew. It's just that the hood didn't know yet. They didn't know where any of this came from. They didn't have access to the information. They didn't know. But no, yeah, I knew that happened. And that, what was funny is that, you know, the Run DMC Aerosmith crossover worked on the white side, didn't work on the black side.
I mean, that was a massive deal. I remember when that was
song.
a massive deal.
Because I liked Run DMC too. They were good also. Like I said, white kids in that era were listening to black music.
Well, and
black
you have to
kids were
think
not
too
listening
that
to
like
white
at
music
that time when that song, when that single broke,
right,
Aerosmith were not. I mean, they were old. I mean, that was like old white people music.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, we're the young kids or anything. They were old at that time.
Now, Tila counters this, though. She said Prince toured with the Rolling Stones and he got booed. The thing is that the Rolling Stones fans were much older than the Prince fans.
That's what I'm saying.
Much older.
Yeah.
I'm
not excusing it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, not excusing it. It's just that the Rolling Stones fans were old. No, but if you were to, if that were to roll today, that show would be a hit. Prince and Rolling Stones, yeah, that'd be a hit.
Yeah, well, I mean, Prince.
That was another one that was
if he was
ahead
still
of its time.
alive,
You're right. Poor
that
Prince.
would probably fly.
Yeah, it would fly now.
nowadays.
Yeah.
But that's why. I mean, for the reason that, like I said, I kind of feel like that's why, as much as like some shit about like the 70s and 80s, not the 90s, because fuck the 90s.
Right. Yeah.
But the 70s and 80s.
No, 90s could be good too.
Well,
there was some good.
Every now and then. I was not a big fan of the 90s as a decade.
I don't know, man.
But 70s and 80s.
I kind of liked Nirvana. I thought they were good.
I liked Nirvana too.
I liked Alice in Chains. I thought they were good.
Bitch, somebody gave me a
Chem
tape.
Lab was 90s and they were good.
I know. I'm not saying there wasn't anything good from the 90s. There was.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that overall, I was not a fan of the direction that the 90s went. I'm not saying that there wasn't anything good in the 90s, because there was. And I like Nirvana too. Like, look, somebody gave me, like, even before Nirvana got super famous, I got a couple of their albums free. Because, like I said, I was broke. So some people were like, hey, I'll record the album. I bought it. I'll record it for you. So that's what we used to do. You'd get the record or the CD or the, cassette, and you would tape it for your friends. Because they were broke like me. And I'm like, I want to hear that. So I got, like, the Nirvana album. And I kind of feel... The weird thing about this, and I think I've mentioned this before, 1981, when that Nirvana single came out, Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah.
I first saw it on 120 Minutes, the, underground music show, which MTV did at... It was, like, midnight on Sundays or something. It was, like, 2 hours.
No drink?
Yeah. So they did that, and it's like, I saw that song. I'd heard Nirvana before because I'd heard about, they had an album before that, which was called Bleach. And I was like, I'd heard them before. And that song came out, and I was like, man, that's a pretty good song. Man, I can't see that ever being, like, popular. Little did I know that literally the next day, everybody would be into that shit. Everybody. And it was just, like, fucking crazy. It was just, like, a crazy fucking... Because I never thought that song... It's a great song. But Nirvana, and had he still been alive, Kurt Cobain would have said this as well, was essentially a Pixies song. But, yeah. And, I mean, Nirvana were very open about their Pixies influence. The whole thing about soft, loud, they got that from the Pixies, and they were very open about that. And so I kind of feel like, I feel like that's maybe where a lot of the resentment of our people came from, because it's like, look, we've been listening to the Pixies. I've been listening to the Pixies at that point for several years. And it's like, look, Nirvana came along, and it's like, oh, they're doing what the Pixies are doing, but they're doing a more grungy version of the Pixies. Which, okay, that's cool. And now suddenly everybody loves that shit. And I'm just kind of like, okay, but, like, the Pixies have been doing that for a long time. And also, like, Nirvana have been around before that, too. And there was that too. So it was just kind of like when everybody kind of loved it suddenly, you were kind of like, okay, where did that come from?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a very weird time. It was a very weird time. So I kind of feel like that fed into why I wasn't a big fan of the 90s. But I did like Nirvana. I had that whole, the whole first couple albums. I had Bleach. I had Nevermind before it broke because somebody taped it for me. And I don't know. Like I said, it was a weird time. It was a weird time. But
Tita said I hear really good things about Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. Depends on the genre, but so many good albums. If you haven't heard Dark Side of the Moon, then you've never really heard a good album. Sorry.
Some people say listen to it alongside Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
But
No,
you don't
do
have
that.
to.
Don't do that. That's expert level shit. and that was all bullshit anyway. What you do is you sit down. The thing is that came from a time when an album was like an opera. All right. In that genre of music, one song wasn't enough. You had to put the album on and listen to the whole side of the album and then flip it over and listen to the other side. And you're basically listening to a show, an album. The mix is perfect on Dark Side of the Moon. It takes you through a journey. If you have something visual to look at, if you're kind of maybe getting a little bit high, smoking some weed, you're looking at something projected on the ceiling, you have to immerse yourself in that album. It was another genre, another medium of entertainment. Most Pink Floyd albums were designed to be a product consumed as a whole. You listen to the whole album. You listen to Dark Side of the Moon. You listen to The Wall, which was, I think it was a double album, wasn't it?
it was.
And then you listen to Metal, or Medley. It's called Metal, I think. Or Echoes. Echoes, that was the name of that album. Echo. You listen to Echoes. It was just good albums, you know. And once you heard one song, you wanted to hear the next one anyway. You know.
Well,
But it was from a slower time. It was like a time of meditation and reflection and introspection, and they're taking you on a journey. It wasn't the modern era where it's these little fucking Instagram videos and photographs.
where everything's like 2 or 3
fast.
minutes.
No, it's not
like,
what it was. They're taking you
get
on
that,
a journey.
But like, there's something to be said for a really good short single, because like I said, that's why I love punk rock. Like, look,
Punk rock, short,
sweet. We're in, we're out. Like, I said, the Damned, early Damned, were really good at that. New Rose, shit like that.
Phantasmagoria is like a fucking Pink Floyd album. You won't listen to the whole album.
Yeah,
because they're taking that. But there is like what she says. Short stuff does work.
Yeah.
The humans.
It
like
depends
that.
on what mood you're in.
You're right. Yeah.
Do you just want like a single? It's just like a short 2-3 minute pop song.
Yeah.
That's just gonna like uplift your mood, and I'm not shitting on that because that's good too. Like I said, and punks did that too.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of punk songs that I like I said, The Damned, and even later on, like Bad Religion, they would do a song that wasn't even 2 minutes. They would just like come in and they would like fucking hit you with the shit. It was like an amazing like melody, an amazing like fucking beat, and then they would just like do it for less than 2 minutes, and then they were gone. They got their message through, and that was it. And there's something to be said for that. But there's also something to be said for somebody that does a whole album thinking that someone's gonna like lay down and listen to this whole thing.
Album. Right.
And
that was a lot of the good shit.
Yeah.
Not just prog rock. Prog rock, they knew you were going to sit there and listen to that whole fucking album, sitting on a beanbag, smoking a fucking doobie, with a dude fucking sitting next to you who's your buddy, and you're looking at lava lamps, and you got colored lights in the room. And you're just being immersed, and you're being taken to this other world. It's like theater. It's like opera. Okay? Some of the gothic stuff that I told you about was kind of like that. More driving music, like you're driving in your car, or you're sitting around listening to this fucking dude telling you shit. You know, the First and Last and Always albums kind of like that. Joy Division albums are kind of like that.
although I will say,
you on heroin with colored lights
and fucking tripping and going.
I will say
somewhere, you know.
Joy Division's Closer, which came out
Great
in
album.
1980, came out a little bit after Ian Curtis hanged himself.
Yeah.
That album, I saw this like back in the old days. I was like, somebody said this is the best album to listen to like in complete sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
And so I decided I'm gonna try that shit out. That sounds like a good, because I loved that album.
Yeah.
So I blacked out all my windows, like blacked out all the sound, everything like that. And I just laid there and I just let myself listen to it. And that person was absolutely correct.
Yeah.
That album needs sensory deprivation.
Right.
You need no other sound, no other sights, no other nothing.
T's
Just
going,
like, what?
T's going, damn, I need to get me some bean bags and some colored lights. Yes. That's what it was another time. You didn't have all these screens.
It's
you could
hard
look at.
because, like, even now, like, look, I'm old. Like, I'm almost 50. And even now, it's like, it's hard for me to, like, pull myself away from a screen.
Yeah. There were no screens.
Just, like, lay down on a couch and, like, read a book. Like, a physical book. Because I've been reading a lot of ebooks lately. Or just, like, lay down, like, listen to an album. Because I kind of feel like, oh, I should be doing something else. And it's like, that sucks. We shouldn't feel like that.
What you did was you and your friends got together in this little room on beanbags. You'd be smoking a fucking hookah, or you got bongs, or you're smoking some weed, and you got a real good stereo system. It's dark in there. You got a black light going and black light posters of fucking pixies on top of fucking mushrooms or just whatever. We'll project it with, and then you're going to it's like going to the movies. And you're going into this album. All right. A lot of the albums, a lot of the prog rock was like that. Some of the early goth was like that because that culture was still going on. Pre-internet culture. And it was the genre, it was the medium of the time. It was the social media of the time. And it was good. It was very good. I like them both. It was low information by today's standards. But information meant more. You didn't know as much, but what you did know, you clutched onto it as if it was like little fucking pearls.
Little diamonds.
Yeah, like, oh, I know something somebody else doesn't know. It was a different era.
Yeah.
Okay? And it was a more charming era, if you ask me. You could be dumb and still be cool, and you didn't know that you were dumb. Because you just didn't know. The information wasn't being presented to you. You didn't have an internet where any question you had could be answered. Back in those days, you had to go to a library, and half the damn books were lying. Or inaccurate. You know, they were inaccurate.
Because they were old.
They were old, you know, so it didn't matter. It was a time of mystery in many ways. Although today is a time of mystery, because we kind of in a
different way.
It's in a different way because now you have many.
Because now you have like a lot of information,
and they all fucking conflict.
Most of them are bullshitting.
They're lying, okay.
And you're not entirely sure which.
You're not sure which one it is, right? So that's
so
the
it's
difference.
kind of the same, but it's not as romantic,
right?
Let's put it.
It was
that
a more
way.
romantic time, T. You would have liked it. You would have liked it because you could.
It's not that different. It's just
right.
We have access to more information, but that doesn't really mean that we have more information.
Yeah.
Because we have access to more bullshit.
T said there's nothing like listening to Dark Side of the Moon when you're tripping on shrooms. Yeah, and here's the thing.
She said her husband just said that. Yeah.
And here's the thing. If you listen to Dark Side of the Moon, it's not making unsupported claims. It's not making... It's very normal shit that they're talking about. The commentary is very normal. But it's just that you hadn't really realized it. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, that's right. You know, it's just when you see it, when you listen to it, you'll understand. You'll understand. It's very, very human. It's not bullshitting. It's just
as I said, I think that's
knowledge.
Kind of what we're going back to why I think that bands like Pink Floyd or the Smiths, for example, are kind of like universal across generations.
Yeah.
Because they're it's weird because, like, conversely, they're talking about their own personal experiences.
Yeah.
But by
They
talking
translate.
about their
Yeah.
personal experiences, they're translating to everyone because everyone
Right.
feels that.
Right. Okay. In today's vernacular, you would call it's AMSR. That's what it's like. In those days, you'd call it intimacy. You're listening to somebody else's thoughts, and you're kind of like resonating with it. You're like going like, yeah, I know how you feel. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And yes, this is exactly what society does to us. This is what they're telling us, but we know it's not true. And we know our place in life, and we know their place in life, and we know they're full of shit. It's just you'll see. You just got to listen to it. It's a universal norm. It's the way life has been. And you guys know I'm a student of history. 2,000-3,000 years at least. There are universal constants. And Floyd was good with that. Floyd was very good with that. But then they'd also even call bullshit on the record industry because they made records for a living, and they would fucking come back and turn in on themselves and go, record industry's full of shit, and you're listening to this record. So it was kind of meta. It was meta for its day. But no, you know. Now, T was saying earlier on, we're talking about Pink Floyd. That's American, or that's British stuff. T was asking, well, okay, what's better, Tom Jones or Elvis? I'm gonna say both.
Yeah, that's a hard distinction to make.
Both. Jones, look.
I love Tom Jones. And I love Elvis.
Welsh.
Yes.
Motherfucker had a range. He was a crooner. Elvis ended up kind of being a crooner too. Very emotional. Both good-looking guys. Big, good-looking guys. But we gotta say something about Jones. Jones confirmed huge cock. Confirmed. He put Cassandra Peterson in the hospital.
That's right. I forgot about that.
She's known as Elvira.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went anal on her and put her in the hospital. She had to get stitches after that shit. It was an accident, but Jones, motherfucker, was huge. Okay.
I have heard that.
And he's a good-looking dude. Good-looking dude. Fucking
I told you I lived
great.
in Wales for a long time, and they're very, very proud of Tom Jones over there. They love fucking Tom
I do
Jones.
not question Wales.
He's pretty awesome.
I do not question Wales's pride in Tom Jones. Yes,
Wales is cool.
Tom Jones was the man.
I know you've never been there, but it's like, I've been there.
Tom
It's like,
Jones
Wales
was
is pretty
man.
cool.
He was the
It's
fucking
pretty
man.
They're very proud of Tom Jones.
Elvis was very similar. You guys know I'm Southern. I'm a fucking child of Mississippi. And
Elvis rules. I love Elvis.
Elvis was just 70 miles from where I lived. He was in Tupelo. I'm from fucking Heidelberg, okay, Mississippi. Me and Elvis have a lot in common, culturally, and just roots-wise. I gotta be honest, man. I liked Elvis as a guy. I understand exactly what he did. There's a lot of shit, negative shit about Elvis that they'll say is a lie. Okay, Elvis was very cool. Elvis, I didn't really like his music that much. Elvis was gospel.
I like that, though.
I'm not really into that, but some of his shit was just fucking awesome. It was fucking banging. Okay? He was an alpha of his day. The Elvis and Nixon movie was the shit, and fucking that passes the fucking truth test, the smell test. His friends said, yeah, that's what it was like when Elvis met Nixon. He was a fucking trip. He wasn't what a lot of people might think, you know what I mean? He was kind of a Southern goth kind of guy for his time. He wasn't a racist. That was Chuck D and fucking guys from Public Enemy that came out and said he actually liked black people. He grew up around black people. He sang black music for his time. There were very conservative Southerners didn't like Elvis because he sounded too black.
Yeah, I don't think he was trying to do anything
He was
just singing music that he liked. And that was like, I don't think he thought about it.
It was in a time of segregation. A lot of black artists couldn't play in a white venue.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's problematic from today's standpoint, but I don't think that he thought of it that way.
No. A lot of fucking white people wanted to hear black music. They just did. Elvis could deliver that because he could play in those venues.
Yeah.
But that was in the very early years of his career.
Yeah.
The America was changing. The South was changing at that time. His music rapidly, by the time the 60s came along, was retro and old-fashioned. Elvis was a traditional guy. He saw the Beatles and he's like, I don't know if I can bring myself to it. That's not music. You know
which is hilarious.
Yeah, which is kind of hilarious.
Because nowadays nobody sees the Beatles as like problematic.
Yeah, you're right. He's
in any way whatsoever.
Had Elvis held on for a while, he actually could have, had he not died, he actually could have come back with shit like the Stray Cats and brought his.
That's what I mean. Early 80s was very into
very
50s
much of that.
shit.
Yeah.
They were very into rockabilly. Like I said, you had the Stray Cats who were mainstream.
Right.
You had like people like the Cramps. You had like the whole kind of like rockabilly revival.
Well, even Glenn Danzig.
Polecats, all that kind of stuff.
Glenn Danzig and the Misfits and Misfits, Glenn Danzig and all and
he totally could have rode that wave.
He could have come back with that.
He could have rode that wave.
He didn't know, and there were drug problems. Which I don't totally blame.
I mean, the fact that he wasn't real up on... I mean, the fact that he was, like, kind of culturally conservative might have, like, hindered him in a lot of ways. Because if he had been hep to the shit, he would have known that the early 80s were a big... Everybody was, like, 50s revival was, like, kind of a big subgenre. Like you said, Stray Cats, Polecats, you know, you had all the Cramps... You had all this kind of stuff that was like looking back.
It was coming back to what he had
50s,
done. Right?
Like through an 80s lens. Right. So had he come back, well, look what Johnny Cash did.
Right.
Later on.
Right.
Where he was kind of like, look, everybody's into this kind of like creepy country shit, like in the late 80s, early 90s, and he came back and he was successful. Nick Cave covered his shit.
Right.
He covered a Nick Cave song, for Christ's sake.
Now, you said cultural conservatism. That's only part of it. What it was is he was just trying to be Southern. And he was trying to be traditional from a Southern point of view. Even though he was a rebel in the South. Which there's a paradox there.
I know, but...
He's trying to redefine what the South is. But I talked about it early on in other shows... with personal experience and understandings of biology of what really happened to Elvis. What happened to Elvis was fucking menopause. Okay? His testosterone levels declined. And he thought he was sick, so he started to take drugs to make himself feel better. Had Elvis been on HRT, a lot of the bad things that happened to Elvis would have never happened. But they didn't know back then, human biology. He was a very high-energy guy, born famous, was a soldier, conquered being a fucking soldier in Germany, married his commanding general's daughter, who was a fucking gorgeous prize. Everything was this winning. Elvis didn't know losing. As soon as fucking his androgens started to drop off, and as soon as he wasn't really on top of the game, he got depressed and his fucking hormonal levels fucking depleted. He got depressed and he thought he was sick. That's not what it was. He needed a test. He would have been a lot better. A lot of guys go through it. What was it called? Andrenopause. He hit andrenopause. Modern technology could have fixed him. But he thought he had some kind of sickness.
Well, back then they didn't know.
They didn't know.
Well, and a lot of that was because I kind of feel like they just... I don't know, there was kind of like this understanding that, like, if you weren't, like, happy with your life or whatever, like...
Yeah.
They didn't really have, like, a big understanding of, like, mental health issues.
They didn't know anything about... They didn't know anything about fucking... They didn't really know much about biology either.
Yeah, not really.
And nothing about life extension. You just fucking drank yourself to death from an early age. You ate lots of beef and drank pork juice. That's, you know what I mean? Until your fucking arteries hardened. And that, that's like my dad.
Yeah, that was kind of like my grandparents.
Yeah.
Not so much my parents, but my grandparents.
Right.
Era.
Modern knowledge would have saved Elvis from what happened to him. Which is funny because what happened to him has been kind of turned into these legends. You know what I mean? About him going crazy and pulling guns on people and shooting televisions and doing weird stuff like that. If you'd have given if you'd have T-boosted that motherfucker, he'd have felt a lot better, and none of that other stuff would have happened. He was just going through andropause.
Which, like I said, that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
He didn't know, though. Go to the restroom.
I mean, that's kind of the thing, though. I kind of feel like there's this whole... And it might be partially cultural, too.
Yeah.
And this might be, not as prevalent nowadays. But back in the old days, a dude was meant to be like... You were meant to be like the breadwinner.
Yeah.
You were meant to be like on top of it. And once you were too old to do that anymore... Yeah. And... you're retiring. Well, we've talked a lot about people of that era, of that generation.
Very short life cycle.
Once they retired...
They died. Yeah.
They died, like, within a pretty short... Even though they probably should have lived, like, a lot longer.
You can live a long time if you understand biology and you have access to the chemistry.
But I kind of feel like...
life extension.
Dudes of that era, they define themselves...
By what they did.
By what they did, their job.
And youth.
And once they didn't have that anymore, then
they spiraled out of control.
They felt like they didn't really have any.
Yeah.
Which, don't do that. Don't define yourself by your job.
If you look at
for Christ's sake.
If you look at Elvis's final performances, he was a young man.
He wasn't that old.
No, he was a young man. He was in his 40s. He was overweight.
Christ.
Okay, but he was still
I'm older than that.
Yeah, he was overweight, but it was all andropause. Nowadays, you got actors that are much older than him that look fucking jacked, and they're fucking having a good time. Are they natural? No, hell no. They're all on HRT because now you know how to extend life, how to keep metabolisms up and running. Will you live forever? No, you won't live forever, but your quality of life will be better. Until you die.
I mean, at least...
That's all it is. Go to the restroom.
Like I said, at least, make the life that you have, as good as it possibly can be. And I kind of feel like they didn't really... Until recently, they didn't really, do that. And that kind of makes me sad. Tammy says, Elvis and JFK... had to kill Bubba Hotep. He didn't have time for music. I love that movie, you guys. If you guys have not seen Bubba Hotep, please watch it. That's what she's talking about. Adriana says, of course, Welsh people are cool. Look at that dragon. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know if you guys know, for a long time, for 15 years, I was married to a Welsh person. And I used to go back and forth to the UK, usually Wales, for a long time back in the 90s. So I've been to Wales a lot of times. And, yeah, I get it. And I get they're very, very proud of everybody that comes out of Wales. Tom Jones, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Jones is a very common name over there, by the way. And everybody that comes out of Wales is super... If they get worldwide famous, everybody's super into it. Alright, so let's see what we got. Tammy says, just put those old people on an iceberg and send them out. Yeah, I know.
Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and come back and answer Tila's question directly. Yes. Elvis or Tom Jones? If you're a man and it's about music and entertainment and musical culture, I'm going to say Elvis. If you're a woman, it's about sexuality and getting a fucking dick, Tom Jones. Tom Jones.
I don't know. I like both. I don't know.
I think Tom Jones would probably put it on you better.
I don't know if I could pick.
He could sing too, but I would probably say Tom Jones.
Okay,
Tom Jones
like
was a sexual motherfucker.
Elvis in his heyday.
He was handsome.
Was hotter.
Very, very
Elvis
handsome.
in his heyday was hotter. But
Jones was raw.
Tom
porn star,
Jones,
sexuality.
he had some shit going on
Porn
too.
star level sexuality just coming at you.
Who do I want to sleep with?
Right.
That's all like dudes are worried about, right? Who do I?
Tom Jones would have been a more aggressive, probably. Well, I'm picturing him as more. Come on here, he'd have been leaner, meaner, more low down and dirty. Elvis would have been, I think, more of the romantic, pretty boy. You know, I'm just taking.
Okay, so I'm more into the Elvis.
Yeah, probably.
Elvis.
Elvis would have probably been more like that. I'll tell you what. But you think that Elvis had issues though too.
Well, yeah, everyone does.
Yeah.
Everyone does.
Elvis evidently had a reputation of once he hit a couple times, he'd lose interest and he'd want to move on to a new one.
So how is that different to every other dude?
He wasn't that romantic, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
I tell you what, baby.
So like every other man on Earth. That's really not that different too.
What you talking about? Me and you have been together more than 10 years.
I know.
Yeah. So isn't that funny how she kind of fucking just does that?
Well, I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about dudes in general.
Yeah.
Dudes in general.
Yeah, T. Tom has swag. Elvis did too, but Elvis was a little more. Elvis kind of had the vibe of a fucking king, and he was a king in many ways. He kind of had this magnanimous kind of like. Well, just watch that fucking movie Elvis and Nixon, with old what's his name, fucking the dude that played Nixon. What was that guy's name? Oh shit, Bird. It's still a great movie, even though
it is, yeah.
Even though that dude doesn't look like Elvis, he does convince you that he looks like Elvis, but he doesn't look like Elvis. Fucking it passed the smell test of people who knew Elvis and goes like, yeah, we were there. That it was like that. Fucking what was that guy's name who played
Michael
Elvis?
Shannon.
Michael Shannon, yeah. He doesn't look like Elvis, but he did a great Elvis.
I love Michael Shannon.
Yeah, he did a great Elvis.
He's good in everything.
Yeah.
He's like, he's one of those actors that like every time you see him in a movie, I don't know.
Tammy says, "Don't pick, just sleep with both." Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a way to like resolve the situation. That's a way to resolve it.
Yeah, Tina's talking about fucking. Just look at Tom with all his duets with women on his shows. He loved all kinds of women. I prefer people like that. Yeah, well, by all accounts, Tom was he was the man. You know. Wales holds him up as a fucking national treasure, which I am not gonna fucking.
I've been there. I've seen it.
I'm not gonna fucking say anything against them. Like, yeah,
I've been there. I've seen it.
he was a man. And,
they love Tom Jones over there.
And that was Tom Jones at his height was back in the day 60s.
I mean, we just did Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
Tom Jones was in that,
and he was around for a long time. He was, you're talking about guys from, around fucking Sinatra and, fucking old crooners from that time. You know what I mean? He was one of that crowd. So, yeah, fucking right. Him and Sammy Davis Jr. and shit.
But the thing about Tom Jones was
so
that
funny about Sammy Davis. Sammy, physically, you look at him, and he's totally opposite of all those other motherfuckers, but he's like holding his own. He's this little black dude. Little skinny black dude. But no, that motherfucker was also...
That is exactly what I'm saying.
That motherfucker was also fucking holding his own.
About the whole physical thing, it's not really...
about spirit more than anything else.
It's really not that important.
Yeah.
When you come down to it.
He didn't really fit in with his competition, but he held his own with them. Yeah.
Bitch.
Yeah.
Find a persona.
It was his personality.
And own it.
Yeah. They loved him. He was a good dude.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
We'll get into it.
He knew how to fucking charisma. I was talking about it earlier in the show. It's hard to actually quantify what charisma is.
Well, it's different in every situation. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sammy Davis Jr., one of the things that, if you guys have Shudder, there's a show on there called Cursed Films. And they've done a season 2. The first episode was on Wizard of Oz, which was very good. Second episode was on Rosemary's Baby, which I watched last night. Now, most of that episode was about the Manson murders. But they also kind of went into a little bit of the whole satanic church kind of shit. And they did mention, speaking of Sammy Davis Jr., that he was into the whole satanic thing. And he was one of the only celebrities that was willing to come out and say, hey, yeah, I'm a Satanist.
Yeah. Well, in fucking Smokey the Bandit 2, I think, is when he shows up, which we haven't seen that one in a while yet. We got to see Smokey the Bandit 2. He shows up in his priest robe.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look closely, he's wearing a head of Baphomet. And evidently that head of Baphomet was given to him by Anton LaVey. Or at least
back
Anton
in the
LaVey
day,
gave him the authority.
Yeah, he was not real,
No.
he wasn't secretive about, like,
No.
hey, I'm Church Satan all the way.
But I think it was tongue in cheek with him because I think he understood what Anton was. Anton knew it was symbolic for being your own person and rebelling against conventionality.
Yeah, I'm not like real. Like I kind of feel like
he was an atheist.
Sure,
that's what Sammy Davis is talking about. He's an atheist poking fun at conventional people. That he was, that by natural selection and his choices through life, he has risen above the bullshit.
Tila says he was also a Jew. Yeah.
He was also converted to Judaism. But people just did whatever they did back then. They were also into mystical stuff.
Well,
that was the people of the time. I remember it.
And the Cursed Film Show goes kind of a lot into, like, the one about Rosemary's Baby is a lot about, like, the Manson murders, because Roman Polanski and, like, Sharon Tate got murdered and stuff. So they go a lot into that. But they do kind of go into a little bit of the Church of Satan kind of stuff that was going on. And they talked about Sammy Davis Jr. and how, at the time, late 60s, Rosemary's Baby came out in, 1968?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of kind of, like, questioning of religion in general. Like, or at least religion as it had been presented prior. Yeah. So everyone's kind of like... I know it's based on a novel, and it's Ira Levin's novel, which, if you haven't read that, you should, because it's really, really good. But it was kind of like part of the whole zeitgeist. Everyone in the late 60s was questioning all the religious kind of fucking, shit that was going on.
Conventional shit wasn't cool.
Right.
Truth had to lie somewhere else. So everyone was, especially in the California scene, which I grew up there too. The California scene, especially my parents' and my aunt's generation, you didn't want to be regular. You wanted to be something different. So that was the direction that they went. And it was all, it was bullshit, really, when you think about it. By today's standards, you would think it was bullshit. But they were just looking for a new type of truth. And then you were also dealing with actors, okay? Pretty much all the actors of that era were putting on a show. It was their job to entertain you. And if you really watch them, especially when you watch them on talk shows, you can tell there's an air they're putting on. There's an air of fucking, I don't want to say falsehood, but they're putting on a persona.
Well, performance. It's an air of performance.
Right. Which that was their job. It
Sure.
was their job to do that. Because show business is about illusion and entertainment, and you know what I mean? And you're trying to put on a good show for other people and putting on a different face, and they even didn't even use their own names. It's show business. They were all doing it. So you can go back and look at Sammy Davis and you go, well, man, he seems slightly fake. Well, you go back to all the other ones and you look at them, they're all kind of fake too. They're all fake. They were just
Yeah, I
putting on a
mean,
show.
that was kind of like
That
part
was
of
their
the whole...
job.
Sure.
That was their job.
That was the whole thing.
Yeah. Right. It didn't really matter what color they were. I mean, you know, fucking the white ones were doing the same thing. The black ones are doing the same thing.
They all had fake names. They all
Yeah.
had fake backgrounds. They
Go
all
back and
had-
look at old Eartha Kitt stuff. She's very kind of artificial. She's putting on a show. But they were all doing that. They were all doing that. You couldn't be yourself because who you were boring. You were working inside this Hollywood system that was a factory. It's really all it was. The factory to make this fucking imagery. Nowadays, you take imagery for granted. Your fucking cell phone could take imagery. Not back in those days. You need thousands and thousands of dollars worth of these damn huge fucking machines to take in imagery. So you had a whole factory of people trying to put on this show. You know what I mean? To sell it to fucking multitudes through just a few channels. So none of them were really natural. They were all kind of artificial products. And the studios knew that. They'd replace them all the time, too.
But I think that might be one of the reasons that everybody nowadays responds a lot better to
Social media. Yeah.
YouTube channels, TikTok, stuff like that. Like people just doing real shit because it seems a lot more honest than the constructed reality that we saw from like back in the old days.
Right.
So,
but there was, I do respect those people because there was a certain art that they were performing.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like you can't shit on that because it's like look, they knew the game and it's like they did that.
Their job was to fabricate an illusion to get you to feel a certain way, and that's what their job was. Their job was to make you feel good about yourself. That's a difficult job. If that didn't happen, then the product wouldn't sell. They'd fire you.
True.
Yeah.
But
we're now in an area of social media where all those controls are gone. All those fucking gatekeepers are gone. The blockades gone. A creator can speak to you directly and be honest about it. And it doesn't matter because you're going to get the views you're going to get. You know, the people that like to see it.
It's interesting because you never really know what's going to resonate with people and what's not. You know what I mean?
Dumb shit still seems to resonate. Cat videos resonates, which they are cute, but cat videos resonate.
I also like cat videos.
Yeah.
I put up our own, but like I get it.
Yeah.
I watch other cat videos also. I'm like, that is also cute. And I like try to get Pookie to watch them with it. She's like
yeah.
She's like, that is another cat that you're looking at.
Yeah. Somebody said that when you watch old Marlon Brando videos, you get the impression he didn't give a fuck. Yeah, and you know what? That's kind of what I think made him a legend.
Yeah.
He was closer to what you see in social media now. He's on set. He's performing. He's doing what they told him to do, but he kind of doesn't give a fuck, which gave him the air of realism, which made the audiences connect with him more, and that's why he's the legend he was, because that bitch was crazy. Marlon Brando was crazy. He was always crazy.
Yeah.
You be talking to Marlon Brando, and all of a sudden you're a man talking to Marlon Brando, and he just come and kiss you right on the mouth, and he say, "I love you," and what are you gonna say? It's Marlon fucking Brando. You go, "I love you too." That's what you're gonna say. That's what you're gonna say. If Marlon Brando kisses you on the motherfucking mouth in front of the damn camera and says, "I love you," you're just gonna say, "I love you too, I love you too, Marlon." He was crazy. He was fucking crazy. He wasn't a bad man though. He was just crazy. You know.
Well, I kind of feel like a lot of the best creative people were.
Yeah, he's fucking
You
crazy.
kind of have to be sort of crazy.
Yeah.
A little bit. Little bit.
But try to do that shit on a podcast. You get punched. It was the time.
Like I said,
and the
it doesn't
situation.
work the same.
It doesn't work the same way.
The context is
The context is not the same.
Context. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Time is not the same. Context is not the same.
Right.
And that's like a big, kind of, that's a whole like fucking thing about that. You know? It's a whole fucking thing about it. Should we sleep soon?
Yeah, you want to go shut it off? I can always get something to eat. You hungry?
Yeah, I'm starving.
Okay. Yeah, Marlon Brando kissed Richard Pryor.
That's
Yeah,
right, I
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. He did that to a lot of people. If you were too close to Marlon Brando, he'd kiss you right on your motherfucking mouth.
That sounds like some shit that you would do.
Brando was drunk a lot of times, and
Well, so are you,
and
but
high,
that sounds like, yeah.
and
so are
and
you.
crazy.
And so are you.
Yeah, and crazy. And he made a lot of money off doing very little. That was another thing about Marlon Brando. It'd be great to just sit around and make a shit ton of money and not
That
do a
would
whole
be
hell
nice,
of a
wouldn't
lot.
it? I wish
Well,
I
if you
could
want
do
me
that.
to come out here and do this movie, I need $2 million. You know, I'm Marlon motherfucking Brando. You know what I mean? And he'd get it.
It's like, excuse me, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
eat this donut and weigh 400 pounds.
Right, yeah, motherfucker was fat as shit. You know, hold on, I'm Marlon Brando. Okay, and what now? Yes, my son.
Yeah, what? What do you want now?
His greatest last role was fucking Superman, if you ask me, but fucking, you know, just saying.
I mean, can we watch that one with Val Kilmer that had like all the animals in it?
Yeah, I liked that movie. A lot of people didn't like it, but he that same director redid fucking Color from Space.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I liked that movie. It had a little fucking.
We should do like a review of that one of these days.
It had what's her name in it playing the cat girl. One from fucking The Craft. Fairuza Balk was in
Balk.
it. She played the fucking half cat girl.
See?
Jenny and I were doing a fucking book signing deal over here at fucking I was getting a coffee
At one of the horror
at the horror
convention
convention.
in Orlando.
And Fairuza Balk was standing right behind me. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Jenny said, "Oh, she was right behind you. You didn't know?" I said, "No, I didn't know." Yeah, should have said something.
I
to her.
recognized her immediately.
Yeah, she
doesn't really look all that different.
She doesn't look the same. I thought she looked.
I thought she didn't look.
She looked very skinny compared to the way I remember.
Yeah, but her face still looked the same.
Just really not. I didn't.
I
recognize
recognized her almost immediately.
Yeah.
And I saw her from like far away and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, this is like Fairuza Balk.
Had I known it was her, I'd be like, "What's up, Fairuza? You looking good, baby?" Because fucking, I was talking to the girl from fucking. I called her a girl. She's older than me. The one from with those blue eyes, those crazy blue eyes.
Yeah,
What was her name? I got a picture of me and her together.
I know.
She was the one that she was in fucking Masters of the Universe, and she was in what's the name of that movie? She's in Masters of the Universe, and she was in one with the Cenobites.
Yeah, I know.
What was the name of that movie?
I'll remember in a second.
Yeah.
Just,
You guys know what I'm talking about.
I can't remember.
Let's see if they're saying. Nobody's mentioned to it. What?
Tila says, Tom and Jenny,
Yeah.
go to the movies
Right.
this weekend.
What for?
Go see The Batman and go see X.
The Batman.
Or both.
The Batman is now in like the little pissant theaters. It's not even in the main. Like I want to see that shit in Dolby, but they're not even playing it in Dolby anymore.
Well, you should have gone earlier.
That shit's gonna be on television.
Should've gone
But it's
earlier.
supposed to be pretty good. Supposed to be pretty good. I've heard mixed things about it. Okay, go ahead. We'll go ahead and shut it down, Jenny.
You think?
Yeah, if you want to. You hungry?
Yeah.
What do you want me to make for you?
Well, I don't know. What's
right.
down there?
All kinds of stuff.
I don't know. You got like some ramen type situation?
I can do that. What
Ramen
you want a
situation.
Japaghetti?
No.
Okay.
But some other kind of like ramen.
Ramen. Okay.
With eggs or
I can do that.
pork or...
Out of pork.
Okay, well, eggs are fine.
Okay. Go ahead and shut it down.
Thank you. I will
Okay.
do that.
All right.
Don't take off.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I said piss, Aunt Tila.
All right. So it's been a lovely Friday night. Thank you all for... Don't you sit your ass down.
No,
right?
I'm getting let relief.
If I don't get up, you won't ever shut the show down.
That is not true.
Okay. All right. See, Tila's laughing.
Thank you, everybody, for dropping by. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody, for super chats. Don't you go.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. And
Stop it.
we'll be back on... It's Friday, right?
Yeah.
We'll be back on Sunday afternoon
Thanks, everybody.
doing a movie retrospective.
Yeah.
Thank you for dropping by.
All right.
It's been lovely
All right.
spending our Friday night with you.
Yeah.
We will see you on Sunday evening.
Y'all funny. You funny too, Tila. Okay.
See you then.